So now we are going to move into perhaps a wonderful, magnificent session which is out this month, which is the Gochara Rahu. There are unimaginable things that you can predict using this thing called as Rahu Gochara. See, one thing that we need to understand is that there's Rajesh here. He's not come for the day. But last week he asked me this question. Sir, I finished the Pariharam sessions. I finished the Graha KARAKATHWAS sessions. Slowly people are approaching me for predictions, right? That's the way it should be. You should not wait, right? You should start practicing, because knowledge without application is of absolute zero value. So all of you should start applying, should start practicing, which is of primary importance, right? You start with your horoscope, your family member's horoscope, and that's the way you learn, right? Because as concepts are taught to you, you won't be able to remember them unless you apply it, right? Let's say that, I tell you that there is a snake. The snake has entered a house in Madhya Pradesh, right? We are all sitting here, or I'm sitting in Tamil Nadu. You're sitting somewhere. A snake has entered a house in Madhya Pradesh in Bhopal. Will it impact you? No, it won't impact you, right? Let's say we come closer. A snake has entered your neighbor's house. Will it impact you? Not much, but at least it would be registered in your mind, right? At least for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, you would remember that. Now, let's say I tell you that the snake has entered your house, entered your living room. Will you forget the incident? You will remember the snake. You will remember the length of the snake. You will remember the color of the snake. You will remember everything. You will remember the fact that you called the fire station, called somebody from the fire station. You would remember the name of the person who caught hold of the snake, right? One Pambu Lakshmanan will come. He will catch hold of the snake and he will go. The reason I'm telling you that is, there is so much of power just associated with the Sarpa Grahas, which is Rahu and Ketu. Especially Rahu, because in Tamil they say, Pambai Parthu Palanchol, which means what? You get hold of the snake, you grasp the snake. When we are referring to snake here, for this month we are referring to Rahu. You catch hold of Rahu and you start predicting, and you would stun people. Stun is a very small word. The reason I want to get back to Rajesh here is, told me people are approaching me. Good. I'm lacking confidence. Please tell me what to do. So I advised him accordingly. But the reason I'm bringing him into picture here is, till last month at least people were approaching you. You are having a little bit of confidence issue. That is okay. Everybody goes through that. But what if I tell him, and what if I tell you, and what if I tell each and every person who's going to watch this session, learn from the session, that the moment you finish this session, the moment you finish this program, this 1 month program, people are not just going to come to you. People are going to call you Guruji, Guruji, Samiji. They would put you in such a high pedestal that people in your house itself would start wondering, what has happened to Mr. Ashwin? What has happened to Mr. Ganesh, Divakar Ganesh? What has happened to Abhijit sir? What has happened to Rajeshwari ma'am? Has she gone somewhere? Has she learned some Mandrika Shastra? How is he able to tell what is happening in my house? What has happened tomorrow? What did I eat? All these magical things are only possible via Gochara Rahu, right? And that is what we are going to learn in a very simple way, in a very understandable way. See, there are 2 ways of predicting, right? One is to gather information from the client, which is very, very important, right? Because I may be sitting here, you may be sitting somewhere in Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, somewhere. You may be having a family, you may be having your own set of things that happen in your life. So it is very, very integral. It is very, very important to understand certain things, to understand the situation from where you come from before the process of prediction starts. That is important. But then you need to understand, when you start practicing astrology, you need to catch hold of people, and people should come to you. When a person is coming to you, first they would start, hello, sir, Mr. Ramesh, Mr. Rajesh, whoever the astrologer is. How are you? Good. The moment you open your mouth, within the first two sentences, that Rajesh, Ramesh, Ashwin, Divagar, Ganesh, all of this should immediately become G, Sir, Guruji, Swamiji. And that only happens when you are able to pinpoint and predict certain incidents which are happening at the moment, right? When you are able to delve into a person's past and pinpoint on things, pinpoint not generically, like, you're going here, you're going to a hill station, you're in a hill station. In a hill station, you would go and put a tent. You will be staying under a tent or in a tent. You would see a snake. In front of your tent, there would be a transformer. So getting into the nitty-gritty of things like this can only be possible through the Gochara of Rahu. Now, what is this Gochara of Rahu? We are talking about the transitory movement of the Graha Rahu, and we are interconnecting that with your Janana Kala Jataka, which means what? Your birth horoscope. And when you interconnect both of them, the amount of predictions, the kind of predictions that you can do is simply phenomenal, is simply amazing. All that you need to do here is just listen carefully. You don't even have to ask me any questions. That is not required. You just need to listen with all your ears open. Write down notes, take down notes. Don't wait for tomorrow. Today, you pull out your horoscope. Or as I'm telling you things, you pull out your horoscope. You keep your horoscope ready. And you start putting tick mark. Yeah, this has happened. That has happened. This is the way it is happening. That is the way it is happening. And that is how you would be stunned. Tomorrow morning, you will be excited. You will be pulling all the horoscopes amongst your family members and your friends, and you would be checking. And you would be amazed. And that is the way the Gochara of Rahu functions, right? So all that you need in astrology is, see, it is not that somebody suddenly calls you a Guruji and you've become a Guruji. At the end of the day, you need to understand these are techniques, these are tools. So astrology can be a beautiful way, one, to use for yourself, to use for your family, as an occupation, as a career. But you should treat the grahas with respect, right? So you pray to the Navagrahas daily. You pray to your Guru. You pray to your Ishtadevas. You pray to your Kuladeva. You seek the blessings of your parents. And that is more than enough. That is more than enough for you to get the right kind of Vakbala, which means the gift, the prowess of speech in order to go about and predict, right? And the kind of wonders that you would be able to do would be amazing, right? This is the most important thing that you need to do. See, what does the Graha Rahu do, right? When we are talking about your horoscope, there are certain things which are already there in your horoscope, right? You need to get this, you need to get that, you need to lose this, you need to lose that. You need to eat this food today, you need to eat that food tomorrow. Or you're planning to eat this food today in the morning, and suddenly there is a change of plan to eat something. So continuously there are activities, continuously there are acts, continuously there are events lined in your life, right? Now what Rahu does is, it triggers that, it prompts that, right? Which means, what is going to happen? That thing which needs to happen in your life, that act that needs to happen in your life, is triggered by this Graha called Rahu, right? That's the reason whenever, you may have a dream, you may see so many things in your dream, you wouldn't remember that, right? You may see a tiger, you may see a lion, you may see an elephant. Do you remember that? No. You may see your husband in your dream, your wife in your dream. Do you remember that? No. Right? Do you even register that too much? No. Right? But the moment you see a snake in your dream, what would you do? The next day morning, you would immediately go to an astrologer. Remember, there's a lot of negativity associated with Sarpa. But the moment you understand what a Sarpa is trying to do is it is trying to tell you an event. It is trying to tell you something in a very, very subtle way. Then you wouldn't be afraid of anything, right? So the snake would, it would raise its hood just to actually indicate something. Similarly, whenever you see a snake in your dream, and most importantly, from now on, whenever you get a horoscope, the first thing that you're going to do is just practice the technique that I'm telling you. You would be amazed at what you can do. And people around you would be amazed at, how you are able to come up with these kind of predictions, right? So what does a snake or a Sarpa or a Rahu Ketu do? Of course, let's not get into Ketu here. We're just talking about the Gochara of Rahu, right? A Sarpa Graha Rahu, it indicates a change. It prompts a change. Anything to do with this transformation or change that you need to have in life is always associated with Rahu. See, there are stages in your life, right? You start as an infant, or even before that, a fetus, infant, toddler. Then you grow up, childhood, adolescence. So these are stages. But this transition from one stage to another stage is indicated by Rahu, which means what? If you're an infant, you need to move to a toddler. That stage of transition is indicated by Rahu, right? So once you understand this, each and every change in your life, each and every transformation in your life, each and everything that is happening in your life is purely prompted, triggered by this beautiful Graha called Rahu, right? So changes can be very, very subtle, which, at times, you may fail to notice. But once an astrologer predicts that for you, you would be amazed that, how did this person predict, which happened so subconsciously in my life, but now I'm able to recollect that this indeed happened. That is the way as to how something to do with what? A transition or a transit of Rahu Ketu indicates in terms of a transit. And once you just understand this logic, what is this logic? There is a change which is happening. Change in acts, change in events, change in behaviors. It is not just about you. It's about members in your family, the relationship that you have with your family, the relationship that you have with your colleagues, your office environment. All of that change is triggered, or the symptom of all of that is indicated by Rahu. Once you understand that logic, you would be able to make some beautiful predictions, marvelous predictions. And we're talking about small things. When a person comes to you for a consultation, the small things that you actually tell him, the small things, it is not that, you take something from him and you tell him, which means what? You ask him a few questions and you tell him. No, that is not the way it works, right? The entire purpose of this course here, this 1 month course of Gochara Rahu, is a person is coming to you, you take his horoscope. Based on his horoscope, even before he opens his mouth, you start predicting. You start predicting 1, 2, 3, 4. One by one, you start predicting events, right? And as you predict that, you would be amazed at, how this person is responding to you, how this person is affirming to each and everything that you're actually telling, right? That is the way as to how. Just a minute. So once you understand this, once you understand this logic, and it is not that, a person tells you something and based on that you're predicting. No. Person is giving you the horoscope, he's silent. As you start predicting, that person should get stunned. And small things, the little minute things that you predict, that person should literally get stunned. And that is the way You build a relationship with the client. A lifetime of relationship. Remember, I always tell you, an astrology, using marketing, using SEO optimization, none of that is required. The moment you start building a base, using a proper process of prediction, people would come to you naturally. You don't have to go anywhere. If you're living in an apartment, the entire apartment will be yours. People will come to you. If you're living in a colony, that entire colony people would be yours. They would come to you. That is a way an astrologer should work, and that is the way astrology should function, right? One person would come to you, he would tell the other person, he would tell the other person, and that's how very easily, very beautifully, you would be able to build a base, right? See, when you think of Rahu, Rahu is what? It is like the lighthouse. You have the lighthouse. The lighthouse is giving direction to all the ships. You see the light in the lighthouse. It will keep rotating. Similarly, in your horoscope, it would be rotating 360 degrees, this light, the lighthouse. Similarly, in your horoscope, this Rahu would actually indicate each and every event that is about to take place in your life. Each and every event that is about to take place in your family. Forget your family. Each and every event that is about to take place in your neighbor's house also, right? And you would be amazed as we go about with this process, right? So first, what I want you to do is, first I want you to construct or cast a birth chart, right? You can first cast a birth chart so that I can just give you a small example, right? A very small example, right? So you can just cast a birth chart, or you can draw a Rashi Katta, right? Let me just share my iPad screen. Let me just connect the iPad. Okay, so all of you can see my screen, right? Now you also need to draw the Rashi Chakra. Let's take an example here, a simple example, okay? Let's put the Lagna as a Kadaga Lagna or a Kadaga Lagna, right? You just need to draw a line like this, right? So now, let's say Sun is here for this Lagna, right? So Sun becomes the lord of the second house, correct? Where is he placed? He is placed in the fourth house. Now, as it is in his horoscope, there is something to do with land. There is something to do with property, right? Let's forget about the quality of it. Why? Because Sun is getting debilitated in the horoscope, right? But basically, there is something to do with money. Why? Because the second bhava indicates dhana. The second bhava indicates something to do with family. The second bhava indicates something to do with your money, correct? This person has to inevitably invest this money in something to do with the property, right? This person, till the time he buys a property, what would he be doing? He would be giving his money to the mother. This is the basic as far as his horoscope is concerned. Now, when the question comes as to when he would buy the property, when he would invest in the land, will the quality of the land be good? When all of that comes, when the question of when comes, obviously all of us would do what? We would jump into the Dasha Bhukti, right? Does a Dasha Bhukti give you an answer to that? Yes, of course. A Dasha Bhukti definitely gives you an answer to that. But is there something beyond the Dasha Bhukti that can be used in order to predict? That can be used in order to predict beautifully? Then it automatically is the Gochara of Rahu. So, for this, what do we need to do now? We need to look into the current transit, which means we are in the year 2022, right? What is the day today? Today is November the 6th, right? So where is Rahu now? Rahu is here in Mesha Rashi, right? Where is Ketu? Ketu is here in Tula Rashi, right? As of now, we just need to understand Rahu to make some beautiful predictions. The first thing that you need to understand is Rahu Ketu, both of them are considered as what? They are considered as Chaya Grahas, which means what? Shadow Grahas, right? They don't have a form, they don't have a body, right? They are not literal planets or Grahas. Let's not even use the word planet, Grahas, right? Grahas in the form of what? Literal mass, right? We consider them as Grahas, but are they planets? Do you have a planet called Rahu? Do you have a planet called Ketu? No. So when we are referring to the other Grahas, we are talking about aspects. But can a shadow have a drishti? No. So you don't use the word drishti here, but you can use the word influence, right? So Rahu Ketu does have an influence. Here, as of now, when you look into your Janana Gala horoscope, which means what? When you look into your birth chart, and let's say you're talking about Rahu here, right? You need to look into the influence of Rahu from wherever he is placed in the 3rd house and in the 11th house, right? So let's say in the horoscope here, let's say somewhere, let's put Rahu here in the birth horoscope. Now, please do remember, this is the birth horoscope, right? This Rahu here is the transit of Rahu, which means today, at this time, this year, where is Rahu? He's positioned here. So opposite to where he is, you count 7, you will have Ketu, right? Let's say in his birth horoscope, Rahu is here, right? So what did I tell you? Opposite to where Rahu is where Ketu would be. Easy, right? Okay. Now, when you have to look into his horoscope for his predictions, right? We are not talking about the Gochara of Rahu. When we are talking about his horoscope or her horoscope for his or her prediction, then you need to look into the 3rd and 11th and look into the influence. How do I look into the 3rd and 11th? The most important thing that you need to understand as far as Rahu and Ketu is concerned is that we are talking about what? Naturally VAKRA Grahas, which means what? They would be traveling in an anti-clockwise motion, which means this year, Rahu is here in Mesha Rashi. Next year, where would he go? Would he go here or would he go there? He would go in the opposite direction, which means next year, where would Rahu be? He would be in Meena Rashi, right? So, in your horoscope also, let's say we are talking about, you know what? We are talking about the influence of Rahu. You need to look into the influence of Rahu in an anti-clockwise motion, right? So you start 1, 2, 3. So this is one point of influence of Rahu when it comes to, you know what, your birth chart. I'm just giving this to you for an information, right? Again, you need to start going reverse, and the 11th from where he is, he would influence, right? So Rahu would influence what? Rahu would influence the 2nd here, right? So it is here. He would influence the 2nd, right? And he would influence this bhava here, which means this would be the point of influence. This is when it comes to your birth chart, right? You just remember this when it comes to your birth chart. Now, when it comes to the Gochara of Rahu, right? When you're getting into the Gochara of Rahu, right? Now let's remove this. Let me remove this. We're just talking about the transit of Rahu here. Then there is a difference. You're not going to consider the 3 and 11 here, right? We may consider in the later sessions, but as of now, you're not going to consider the 3rd and 11th here, but you are going to look into the trines. The trines means what? 1, 5, 7, 9. That's it, right? So let's say somebody is coming to you with what? A Kadaka Lagnam. Sun is here. Now, since we are discussing about the Gochara of Rahu, let's start here. Where would Rahu influence? Remember, I told you 1, right? The 1st, which is what? Mesha, right? Go anti-clockwise, start going anti-clockwise and start counting, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You tick mark here, right? Dhanusha. Right? 6, 7. So you tick mark here, right? 8, 9, right? Now you tick mark here, right? So throughout this entire transit of Rahu, till when? Till October next year. Why? Because till October next year, Rahu would be where? He would be in Mesha Rashi. Any horoscope that you get, what do you need to do? Immediately look into what? The Mesha Rashi. Immediately look into what? The Dhanusha Rashi. Immediately look into what? The Tula Rashi. Immediately look into what? The Simha Rashi. Using this, you would be able to predict anything and everything about this person without even this person opening his mouth. Why did this person come to you? For what purpose this person came to you? Will this problem have a solution? All of that can be predicted, right? So now, let's look at this person here. I told you there is something to do with an investment pertaining to a property, right? Why? Because money has to go towards property. So here, now let's actually start looking at the bhavas, right? Let's give the bhavas here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now you take the bhavas into account. You have the second bhava from where? From here, right? You have the fourth bhava from where? From here, right? You have the fifth bhava and the ninth bhava, right? Now you're not even going to look into the grahas in the horoscope. That is also not necessary, right? If a person is coming to you, a person who has a Kadaka Lagna native is coming to you, what are the questions that he will have in his mind? He will have a question about investment in property. He will, if he's now, you need to also understand one important thing. There is something called as Kala Desa Vartamana, right? So depending on the age of the person, the questions would be, right? A small child or a young adult who's finished his engineering degree, his question would be what? It would be about higher education, 5-9, right? A person who's newly married, I'm not even getting into the horoscope, just Kadaka Lagnam, that is enough, right? And just keeping in mind the age of the person. Why? Because we are talking about Kala, Desa, Vartamana. Immediately, you should be able to tell, is this a question pertaining to what? Investment in property, based on the age of the person, based on the person himself, right? Is it a question about childbirth, right? Why? Because the fifth bhava is associated. The ninth bhava of bhagya is associated. Is it a question about education? Why? Because the higher education, which indicates the fifth bhava, is associated. The ninth bhava, which indicates travel, is associated, right? Beyond this, there cannot be any other forms of question. Again, is this a question about your health? Then automatically, even without getting into the horoscope, you would be able to predict what? It will get better. Why? Because the fourth bhava indicates sukha. Is it a question about your mother? Why? Because the fourth bhava also indicates the mother. Do you want to register a property in your mother's name? Why? Because the fourth bhava indicates the mother. The fourth bhava indicates the property. Do you want to invest and buy a land on your mother's name? All these questions would become an absolute yes, right? Which means Rahu, there is something already there in his horoscope pertaining to what? Property, pertaining to investment on a property, pertaining to buying a land on the mother's name. Of course, the quality of the property it is so. Why? Because the fourth bhava has to be taken into account. Sun getting into what? Debilitation, which means money is also less. That is different. But when will this event happen? It will be prompted only when the Gochara of Rahu is connected, right? When the Gochara of Rahu is connected, this event would be triggered and this event would be happening. This is a beautiful way, a wonderful way to start predicting. Of course, I'm going to be giving you points after points. Blindly, you just need to be repeating those points, right? Let's take another example here, right? One more example. Does anybody have any questions? If you have any questions, you can ask me. Any questions? Unmute yourself if you have any questions. If you just listen itself, that should be more than enough, right? Now, let's take another horoscope here. Again, we are in 2022. So today you are studying this concept. Let's say next year somebody is studying this concept. So what? The transit of Rahu. It would enter into Meena Rashi. Post when? Post October next year. So then what would happen? Rahu would enter into Meena. Right now, let's say, you know what? We are ideally referring to what? Till October, right? We are ideally referring to a transit of Rahu. And where is this transit of Rahu positioned? This Rahu would be positioned in Mesha. So immediately Mesha, this is something that you need to write down. Mesha, Dhanusha, Tulam, right? Again, I repeat for you. So Rahu here. So the only thing that you need to tick mark here is this, Dhanusha, Tulam, and Simha. Based on this, you can be predicting for anybody and everybody who is going to be coming to you, right? You just need to listen carefully to me. That's more than sufficient. And as you keep listening and applying, you will see the magic. You will see wonderful magic just today as you complete the session. Again, I repeat, when you look into your natal horoscope separately, that time you consider the third bhava. That time you consider the 11th bhava. But when we are referring to Rahu, what is it? 1, 5, 7, 9. That's it, right? Which means whatever is there, which is already in store for you in this birth, when will it come to me, sir? When will it come to me, or when will it happen to me? All of this is indicated by Rahu. It's as simple as that, right? That is how things would ideally work out, right? So here, Dasha Bhukti would tell you something. I told you that. That is important. But can I do some prediction completely, which is unfound, which is unimaginable, which is beyond the Dasha Bhukti? That will operate owing to what? A Gochara of Rahu. Now, let's take another chart. We would take one more chart for an example. Let's say somebody comes to you. I'm not even putting in the grahas, right? Just using the lagna, we are going to be predicting, right? Here, let's say somebody has a Rishabha Lagnam, right? So same position, the position of Rahu, it won't change. It is here, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So what is it that we are getting? We are getting the fourth bhava, right? From here, Simha, right? Then we are getting what? The sixth bhava. Is it good or bad? Minus, right? The sixth bhava is considered as, what? It is considered as a Dursthana. Next, what is the bhava that we are getting? We are getting the eighth bhava, again a minus, right? Next, we are getting the 12th bhava, again a minus, right? So let's say a mother and father are coming to you with the child's horoscope, a newly born child's horoscope, or a small child's horoscope. What is it that you're going to be predicting? The health. You don't even have to, ask. That person does not even have to ask you something. Immediately by looking into his horoscope, the fourth bhava indicates the health. The health of the child would be bad. the health of the child would deteriorate. The child would get hospitalized, right? This is the way you predict. Let's say somebody is coming to you in a middle age, then, or not middle age, let's say somebody is studying, right? The basic formative education. Then what would you predict? The fourth bhava, education, anything to do with education, that would give breaks, that would give problems. Swimming, going to a pond, going to a lake, he should be careful. Why? Because the fourth bhava, Kala Purusha's fourth bhava indicates what? It indicates Kadaka Rashi, Jala Rashi. So problems owing to water, which would start with, cold, wheezing, that would naturally be there. Now I'm telling this for each and every what? Each and every Rishabha Rashi native here. You ask them how their life is going now. The fourth bhava, mother, mother's health, mother's ayul, mother will have problem. Their health, they will have problem. If somebody is studying, education will be a problem. Problems associated with water, you can just talk, you can just go on talking, all of this will come to you. And the moment you start predicting all of that, he would automatically or she would automatically tell, yes, all of that would happen. Let's say somebody is in a middle age, 40 years, 45 years, 50 years. What would they be doing? The fourth bhava, house, the fourth bhava, mother. There would be problems associated with the mother, associated with the health of the mother, associated with the ayul of the mother. Now, don't go to the point of telling something to do with the ayul as of now. Why? Because you are just beginning here. Mother is having problem. That's it, full stop. Next, the fourth bhava indicates your house. So if you are having a house, what would you do? You would break, you rebuild the house, you would reconstruct the house, right? Why? Because the fourth bhava associated with the sixth bhava, ashtama bhava. The eighth bhava is associated with your toilet. So there would be something associated with the toilet, problem associated with the toilet. In fact, you can find remedies here itself. Now, you know that for a person who has a Rishabha Lagna, there is a problem associated with the mother. Now, in order to make sure that this problem doesn't deepen or aggravate itself, the easiest way is what? Do some little bit of alteration work to your house by taking a little bit of loans associated with the sixth bhava. The mother's health will also be normal. It is not that, whatever is the mother's karma, you can take it away. No. But at least this is a small remedy. This is a small parihara, right? A small loan, take it in order to go about and alter your house. If there is a problem with the bathroom, go about and reconstruct your bathroom. Or if you don't have the money to do that, at least, do a little bit of change here and there inside the bathroom to, where you keep your toothpaste, where you keep your brush. This is the easiest thing that you can actually tell him. Again, the fourth bhava does not just indicate property. So automatically the fourth bhava also indicates vahana, vehicles. So what would you tell this person? Anything to do with vehicles, you will have a problem. You will have an accident, right? You should be careful when it comes to driving. You should be careful when it comes to purchase of vehicles. Vehicles or two-wheelers, they will have a problem. You would want to change your vehicle. Don't change your vehicle at this time. Wait for how many years? Just wait for this transit of Rahu to get over. You would end up choosing the wrong vehicle. If you just predict all of this, you're going to get 100 out of 100 marks. See, the person has not opened his mouth. The person has not told what he has come for. The moment you start telling this, now tell me what will happen to all of you. This is just the start, my dear students. This is just the start, my respected students. Because the moment I tell you more and more, you're going to stun people. So the moment you have told this to a person, he would be in attention in his chair. He would be ready to listen to you. And after that, there is no Mr. Rajesh, Mr. Ramesh. It is only G, Guruji, Sirji. It is not the G to you. It is the respect that you create towards the Shastra, right? Again, the sixth bhava, the eighth bhava, the 12th bhava is associated, which means health problem is there. There is problem associated with litigation. There is problem associated with property and litigation. Be careful. If you have a bank loan, settle it or take some time, right? All of this is something that you need to tell, right? For who? For any Rishabha Rashi who's coming to you, right? So the moment you actually go about and tell this, automatically you get 100 out of 100 marks. right? So whatever jadha you get till October next year. Why? Because we are just talking about the transit of Rahu. First thing is you tick mark Mesha, you tick mark Dhanusha, you tick mark Tula, you tick mark Simha, and you start predicting. The next stage, that would be coming to you in the later sessions this month. The next stage is what? You look at the grahas positioned in this Rashi, in the horoscope, right? As of now, I'm just predicting using the empty Rashi Chakra. But in your horoscope, there would be a Graha, right? There would be a Graha in Mesha Rashi. There may not be a Graha in Mesha Rashi. So then you start looking at the Grahas in the Rashi. Let's say there are no Grahas in the Rashi. Then second option, you look at the Grahas which are aspecting that Rashi, which is what? The Graha which is aspecting Mesha Rashi. The Graha which is aspecting Dhanusha Rashi. The Graha which is aspecting Tula Rashi. The Graha which is aspecting Simha Rashi. And then automatically you again go about and streamline the prediction. What? Even before this person has opened a mouth. Which means now we have found this problem. Now imagine once we get to know what are the grahas there, how we can come to the accuracy. At what level of accuracy you can come. Respected students, let me tell you one thing. In cities in India, or the way people look at astrologers, they call it reading, right? They don't even call it analysis, which means there is hardly pressure on any of you. It is not like, the way people go to villages and people go to small towns, look at astrologer. They look at some form of an accuracy or a deep form of accuracy. But when it comes to people in cities, they are open for the fact that, if I'm going to an astrologer, probably he's just going to tentatively tell me that there is something. Tentatively tell me if there is a good time or a bad time in my life. That is what they are expecting from you. They are not expecting anything big from you. So one, you hardly have pressure, right? You're just going to tell somebody whether it's good or bad. So he's coming with zero expectation. When a person is coming with zero expectation, and when you bowl him like this, or when you bowl her like this, imagine the kind of attraction that you're going to be creating. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be marvelous, right? So this is one part. This is another part. So let me give you another example. Let's take another example just to give you an idea, right? Let's take the example of what? The example of, okay. Let's take, again, we are in 2022, obviously, right? So let's take the example of a Mithuna Lagna, right? So Rahu is here, Gochara Rahu is here. Obviously, opposite to that, we have a Ketu, right? So what are the bhavas that I told you to tick mark? Here, right? Then where? Here. Then where? Here, right? Then here. Now, let's start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm doing this just for people in the northern part of India to get accustomed to the style, right? But stop doing that once all of you are accustomed, right? So now I have not even looked into the grahas, but still with this, let's see if we can predict 3, right? Because Simha, right? 5, 7, 11. Now this is a beautiful combination. Am I correct? Right? So let's say somebody comes to you with a horoscope, right? Either the father, mother, or the father or mother brings in their child's horoscope, and you see this type of a combination, the father, mother, right? They have this kind of a combination. And immediately you can ask them, if they are in a certain age. Don't ask a 60-year-old person this question. If they ask this question, what? Is there a possibility for a second child? Second child. The answer is what? Yes. Right? Or if they show you their child's horoscope, Midhuna Lagna, is there a possibility of a second child? Yes. there's a lot of possibility for a child, right? Why? Because the 5th bhava, the 7th bhava, the 11th bhava, most importantly, the 3rd bhava of younger sibling is functional. Let's say a person is coming, a father is coming with a daughter's horoscope, a son's horoscope, who's yet to get married. So for a Mithuna Lagna, what would you say? We are not even getting into Dasha, Bhukti, all of that. What are you going to say? Is there a possibility for a marriage? Yes. There would be alliances which would come. There is a possibility for a marriage. Let's say somebody is coming to you with a horoscope asking you for a second marriage, right? What would you say? Yes, there is a possibility for a second marriage, which means just by looking at the person, the age of the person, or what we call in astrology as Kala, Desa, Vartamana, which means what? You judge where this person is coming from. You judge the situation. And based on that, you predict. You just don't keep blurting out everything, right? You gauge the situation. It is like, I'm giving you a gun, a loaded gun. You don't fire everywhere, right? You are judicious, right? That is the way it works. So if somebody is coming to you with matters of love or a love interest, or somebody wants to get married, or somebody wants to get their daughter married, what would the answer be? The answer would be a yes, right? So first you catch hold of this. First you catch hold of this. Will it give? Will it take away? What will it do? All of that we will get into as we move step by step. So this is the most important concept here. This is the most important layer of this concept here. And based on this layer, we are going to create a building. We are going to create a marvelous building which would amaze everybody, right? So now let's start. Let's start. All of you can write down when Rahu transits heading. When. Before that, do you have any questions? Any of you have any questions? Anybody has any questions? You can raise your hands, or you can unmute yourself. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll just get some water and come. Okay, you can start. Now you can write the heading, when the Gochara Rahu. I'm just seeing a question or a chat from somebody. Sir, what if we have Jana Rahu with Janma Kala Rashi in transit? This is a question from Ashwiniya. Yeah, that will be covered. It will be covered step by step. Don't worry. Let me just go in an order. You just note down. Right? We'll get into that. Right? Write the heading first. Before that, what I want you all to do is you need to take your horoscope. You need to take your horoscope. You take your husband's horoscope, wife's horoscope, father's horoscope, mother's horoscope. Something should be there, right? Because you need to apply things. The moment you apply things, this concept will never leave you, right? If you don't apply it, right, you don't learn things based on rote. You're not going to mug up things. You're not going to memorize things. The moment you associate it with the event, you will not forget it for the rest of your life. I'm telling you that, right? Now, heading is when the Gochara Rahu, orbit Rahu, or transit Rahu, whichever way you want to put it, is transiting Janana Kala, or your natal sun. So what do I mean by this here? Rahu is obviously here, correct? To be precise, he is in Bharani Nakshatra, right? As of now, let's not get into that. It will confuse you. But that is also something which has to be considered, that we will move on. As we move on, session by session, I would let you know that. So, if sun in your horoscope, I want all of you to pull out your horoscope. If sun in your horoscope is where? In Mesha, which is what? You're born during the month of Chaitra, right? Ideally, the solar month here, right? Next, you're born during the month of Dhanu, or sun is here in Dhanusha Rashi. Just keep it that way. Or sun is here in Tula Rashi, right? Or Sun is here in Simha Rashi, right? Right? This is what you need to write down, right? Now, let's get into the predictions here, which means what? The moment you're looking at Rahu itself, the first thing that you need to keep in mind is, you need to imagine your dosa turner or your chapati turner. You have this, what is it called? I Googled this word for you, for all of you who are in the northern part of India. It is called as palta. Palta means what? You're cooking or you're making the dosa. The dosa gets heated on one side. What do you do? What do you do after that? You immediately turn it around. So Rahu is moving in an anti-clockwise motion. And if somebody has something, it will take away. If somebody is not having something, it will give it. This is the nature of Rahu, which means what? Literally turning something upside down. Which means, let's say, two people are in wonderful relationship with each other or are in talking terms with each other, talk nicely, they are good, the best of friends. Automatically, suddenly, without reason, they would stop talking. Or let's say, somebody has not been talking to you for a very, very long time. You've not been talking to a person, or you've been not talking to a family member for a very, very long time. Suddenly, without any reason, that person will come and talk to you. Or you would go and talk to that person. Or uninvited, that person would come to you. This is the nature of the Sarpa Graha. This is the nature of Rahu, right? So the moment you understand, or you need to understand Rahu, you need to understand these two concepts. One, it functions like what? It functions in an anti-clockwise motion. It functions in a form of, just literally turning something around, right? So now, write the first point. The first point is, there would be a question, which means you see this horoscope, you see Sun in Mesha, Dhanusha, you see the Sun in Tula, or you see the Sun in Simha. There would definitely be a question about the father. Number one. Next point. The father's health will be a concern. There is a concern pertaining to the father's health. Right? Now, just before this session at 2 o'clock, there's a student. He's not attending the class today. Obviously, they would all be looking at it later on. So he's a student, he is a client. Immediately at 2 o'clock, he had informed me that what? So my father passed away. Where is Sun placed in his horoscope? Sun is placed in Simha Rashi. Now immediately don't go and tell a person who has Sun in the Simha Rashi, Mesha Rashi, you know what? Your father will pass away. No, because it purely depends on one, Kala Desa Vartamana. Most importantly, it would be reflected on your horoscope also, which means what? A Dasha Bhukti is functioning. He has a Makara Lagna. He is going through a Guru Mahadasha. Guru Dasha, where is Guru placed? Guru is placed in Makara Rashi itself, which means what? Virayadhipati is placed in the Lagna itself. Sorry, Makara Lagna. Virayadhipati Guru is placed in the Lagna itself. And he is getting into a debilitation. So there is a time for loss. Loss of whom? Lagna indicates the head. Head means what? Head of the family. Who's the head of the family? Father is the head of the family. So you start with what? There is a concern about your father. There is a question about your father. There is a problem associated with the father's health. Remember, you're telling all of this even before this person is opening his mouth. So imagine how it will be, right? Father would change his place of residence, which means what? Father would be staying with you. Suddenly he would want to stay with your sister. Father would be staying with the sister for years together. Suddenly he would come to stay with you, which means if it is like that, remember I told you, Rahu is putting something upside down. It is like, turning that dosha, turning that chapati, right? Like the dosa turner. So for so many years, your father was missing. He was with what? He was with your sister. He is not willing to come to you. Suddenly he will come to you. For so many years, he's telling, you are everything to me. I want to be with you. I don't want to go to your sister's house. Suddenly he would go to your sister's house, right? Let's say a person does not have the father at all. Still, there would be a question about the father, right? Why? Because you need to give importance to the Graha, right? Which means he would start, you know what? When my father was there would be some form of a thought associated with the father, which is what? In the past tense. Remember, Rahu is moving in anti-clockwise motion, right? So immediately he would do a flashback about his father. When my father was there would be some reminiscence, there would be some flashback, some question, some statement associated with your father. Immediately you should ask him, are you thinking about your father? Next, sun indicates what? Administration. Right now, all of this which is coming to you, they are golden points, right? The moment you apply it without a person opening his mouth, you would be amazed at how people start looking at you from here on. Sun indicates what? Administration. There would be a change in administration. See, immediately when we are looking at administration, don't go to your office. Of course, there would also be a change there. It is the administration at home, right? Let's say I'm getting 2,000 rupees per month. My earning in a month is 2,000 rupees. With this 2,000 rupees, I survive every month. With this, I will do this, I will do that. There is a planning, right, in my house, right? Now, suddenly that planning would change. Suddenly, this planning would change towards something else, which means what? There would be a change in the way things are administered in the house. From this month onwards, this expense should go for this and not this. This expense should go for that and not that, which means first, there is a change in the administration, or there is a change in the planning associated with the house, which means what? It starts with the income. It starts with the expenses. It starts with the spending. Next, your plans will change. You would be planning something for a very, very long time. Suddenly, there would be a change of plan, right? Number 2 or number 3, there would be a fear associated with your honor, which means what? I am a manager. I am a senior manager. I am a vice president. I am a general manager. Will they take away this position from me? Will I lose my job? I have done this thing. Will my subordinate go and tell this to my super boss? This will be there. So do you have a fear associated, associated with your name, associated with how people perceive you, associated with your honor, whichever way you put it? Yes, it will be there, right? Let's say a person is not having any position. He is not having any power. He is not even bothered about, what role he is reporting to, what role he is working at, what position he is in. Suddenly he will get a position, which means what? For a person who does not have this, he will get it. For a person who has that, he will have a fear associated with that, right? So whose sun? Sun is your boss, right? So there would be a change of your boss. You start predicting this. Your boss will change. Mr. X, you're reporting to Mr. X. From this month onwards, it is not Mr. X, it is Y. Another person would come to that seat. Or that seat will be empty. That boss will go to some other company, that seat will be empty, right? Again, sun indicates what? The head. Rahu, transiting over natal sun. There would be a dizziness. There would be a tiredness. There would be a feeling like, what? I am tired. I want to sit down somewhere. Suddenly, this person would be steady. This person would be, just steady like that. Why? Because we are talking about sun getting exalted in Mesha. Good. Sun in the Rashi of Guru. Good. Tulam, that is where he gets debilitated. So naturally weak. Next, in Simha. So 3 Rashi is strong. The person would be steady. It would be like, he is the man. If it's a woman also, strong, confident. Suddenly they would fall down. You see these people who go for meetings, political meetings, they will be talking something, suddenly they would fall down. This would happen during this time, right? Next point. Anything associated with what? Associated with your pride, associated with authority, associated with dignity would change. Let's say somebody is very, very authoritative, or you're very, very authoritative. Let's say you have this combination. Suddenly, without any reason, you'll mellow down. Or let's say in your family, because you have to look at your family's horoscope now also, right? Let's say in your family, somebody has this combination. They would be naturally very, very authoritative, right? And why? Because Simha Suryan, Dhanusha Suryan, and Mesha Suryan. Let's remove Tulam out of this. But let's say by nature, somebody is authoritative. Suddenly they would mellow down. Tula Suryan, naturally they would be what? A little less self-confident. Suddenly during this time, you know what would happen? They would start behaving authoritative. They would start behaving, adamant. They would start behaving proud. So let's say your husband, your wife, or whoever has this combination, your father, your mother, suddenly they are telling, do this, do that, get that, do this. Automatically look into your horoscope, look into their horoscope. It would be associated with the Gochara Rahu. Or let's say somebody has been telling you this, do that, be that way, giving orders all the time, and suddenly somebody has stopped giving you these orders. Then there is a transit of Rahu, which is impacting the Chananagala sun, right? There would be a change in the worship of your Kuladeva. For people who don't worship or who don't connect with their Kuladeva, Ishtadeva. All this while you will be connecting with Krishna, suddenly you would become a Shiva Bhakt. All this while you will be connecting with Shiva, suddenly you will have a fascination towards Krishna, right? Or all these years you would be going to your Kuladeva temple, Ishtadeva temple regularly. What? Regularly every year. Suddenly you would stop going to your Kuladeva temple. This is one. Second is, now you need to only use the word, there is a change in the Ishtadeva. Don't get into the details. The person would tell you the other point. Based on that, again, you take the thread and tell the other point. Let's say person is not even connected to his Kuladeva. Every year their family, they go to the Kuladeva temple, they go to the Ishtadeva temple. This person does not go itself. Suddenly he would start going to the temple. He would start going to the Kuladeva temple, right? So there would be a change associated with worship of Kuladeva, associated with worship of the Ishtadeva, right? The person who's going, he will stop going. The person who's not going, he would suddenly start going, right? Again, there would be a change in leadership. Again, leadership does not mean that you are some AVP, GM, whatever. No. Any responsibility that is given to you in the house, any responsibility that is given to you in the family, any responsibility that is given to you associated with whichever association you are in, you may be a part of a club, you may be a part of a sangha, you may be a part of a group, whatever it is, what you would do, you would have a position. You would suddenly say, I don't want this position. Suddenly you would give a VRS. What? I don't want to be with this association. I don't want to be the head of this association. Put somebody else. And let's say you are a person who's not into any role in that organization or in that association or in that sangha. Suddenly you would get a role, which means what? There is a change in leadership. Leadership in associations, leadership associated with political parties. Let's say somebody is in a political party. Or let's say somebody is in a role in a political party. Suddenly what they would do, they would switch to another party. Suddenly what they would do, they would switch to another role. This will happen during a Gochara of Rahu. So if somebody is coming to you and asking you this question, do you see a change or do you see a movement? If it is a politician, if there is a person who is in a company, who's working in some company, then automatically your mind should immediately go to what? Whether the Gochara of Rahu is connected with the Janana Gala sun, right? Next, let's say sun. When sun is strong in a person's horoscope, then it automatically means, the ability to make decisions, the ability to guide people is very, very strong. So let's say you have this combination in the horoscope. What? Sun. Where? I've told you. Naturally, people would ask you for advice. Even a small thing, like if somebody wants to buy a car, right? Let's say somebody wants to buy a car. They would come to you and tell you, what? buddy, let's go. I'm going to buy a car. Why don't you help me select the car? So you're going for what? Help him with the selection. Inevitably, you will end up buying one car, which means what? There would be a change in plan. Two-wheeler, you will go to advise your friend and you will end up buying a two-wheeler. Next point, there would be a fear associated with your anma, your soul. Am I going to live? Is something going to happen to me? What will happen to me tomorrow? Suddenly my chest is paining. Suddenly you would start looking at videos. What happens when somebody gets a heart attack? What is cardiac arrest? Anything to do with fear naturally would be there. And naturally during this time, you will take an X-ray, you will take a scan, you will take a ECG, you will take an MRI. For a reason or no reason, immediately a person is coming and sitting in front of you. You look at this combination and tell, did you recently take an X-ray, MRI scan? Did you recently take an ECG? The answer would surprisingly be a yes. That person would automatically get stunned. Next point, there would be a change in the system or in medicine itself that a person follows. What do I mean by that? Let's say somebody is following allopathic medicine. Suddenly he would say, why not try Unani? Why not try homeopathy? Why not try Ayurveda? Or somebody is, going with Ayurveda for a very, very long time. Suddenly they would switch to Unani. Suddenly they would switch to allopathy. Or let's say somebody is popping 5 tablets every day. That person would suddenly come down to 2 tablets. 2 tablets, it will go to 5 tablets, right? Or you can also go one step ahead and say, the doctor who treats you himself would change. Why? Because sun also indicates the doctor. Suddenly you would change your doctor itself. Or you can also again predict, did the doctor who treats you change his place? He's running this clinic in this place. He has changed the clinic to another place. Automatically the answer would be a yes. Try this. Try this and you would be amazed at how you can actually go about and predict. I want all of you to actually also go about and give me updates, because as you give updates, all others would automatically become encouraged. If it's a girl's horoscope, let's say it's a girl's horoscope. Throughout this period, throughout this transit of Rahu, what would happen? There would be hair loss. There would be hair fall. A girl is coming, a madam is coming, right, sitting in front of you, immediately say, ma'am, post last April, are you having a lot of hair loss? The answer would immediately be a yes, right? Automatically, if it is a male horoscope, then the way you actually comb your hair, the way you actually cut your hair, you would be going to a barber and you would be telling this person, cut my hair in this way. For all these years, suddenly you would say, change to this style. Or the barber himself would ask you, sir, can you try this style? You would change that style. Suddenly, you would go and tonsure your head. Suddenly. Why? Because head, sun. Next, the style will change. Most importantly, at times, you would automatically also change the person who is your barber. You would be going to this barber shop for a very, very long time. Suddenly, you would change the barber shop himself, right? Next, there would be pain associated with what? Associated with your back, associated with your stomach, right? Next is when a Gochara Rahu transits Janana Gala sun, there would be a formation of a fetus. So if somebody is coming and asking you this question, we've been trying to conceive naturally, artificially, whichever way, yes, there is a possibility of conceiving a child, or yes, give it a guaranteed yes, there is a fetus. Yes, there is a development of a child, right? A few people, not every person, a few people will have the intention to suddenly change their religion. A few people. Again, even if you're following a religion, as I told you, suddenly you would feel like, changing the practices, changing your allegiance, right? So there would be a few people who would consider, why not try Christianity? Why not read the gospel? Why not read the Bible for some time? Or somewhere or the other, it would be associated with other religions. Or let's say you're a Christian, automatically, suddenly you would be intrigued, or you would try something to do with Hinduism, Islam, all of that, right? So if it is here, there, if it is there, here, that's it, right? Next is the belief system, belief associated with religion, that would also change. So let's say on the other side, somebody is telling, you know what, I don't believe in all this Shastra. I don't believe in this astrology. I don't believe in my religion. Suddenly they would start believing. Suddenly they would start following. Let's say there is an astrologer. He is ardently practicing astrology. Suddenly he would change. Suddenly he would say, you know what, all this works little here and there, not that much. So this change will come. The way you perform pujas or the pujas, homas, all of this would be performed. And all of this, if it is being performed, suddenly you would stop. A person who is performing, not performing, he would start performing. This is the way it would be. There would be a change in the style. There would be a change in the procedure. Next is, remember, all that I'm doing here is, please understand one important thing. The Graha KARAKATHWAS. Next, obviously, I would be getting into the bhavas also. I'm using all the concepts that I taught you in the Graha KARAKATHWAS and applying here. Sun indicates leadership. Sun indicates father. Sun indicates authority, planning. Sun indicates ornaments. So you would buy ornaments. You would change ornaments. Sun indicates what? Eyes. So what? There would be problem associated with the eyes. Let's say somebody is coming and sitting in front of you and you see him wearing glasses. Immediately during this period, ask him this question. Sir, did you change your glasses? Did you have a change as far as the power of the glasses are concerned? The answer would be yes. Did you recently go to the doctor for an eye checkup? The answer would definitely be a yes, right? Sun also indicates your knowledge. So there would be a lot of initiative that a person would take in order to go about and learn something new, in order to enhance his knowledge, especially the higher knowledge. Let's say somebody is already pursuing that, there would be a slight delay. There would be a slight break. That's all, not a major break, right? So somewhere there would be an interest amongst everybody in general to learn something new. This is the time when you will have what? A desire to invest in the share market, the fifth bhava, sun, share market, right? There would be a fear, a necessary, unnecessary fear associated with the heart. What if I get a heart attack? I'm getting a chest pain here. I'm getting a chest pain there. That would be there. They would plant a tree or they would remove a tree, right? You can ask all these questions. You've either planted a tree recently or you've removed a tree recently, right? There would be an interest associated with astrology, associated with medicine. These two angles, they would be doing some research. What would this medicine do? What would that medicine do? What is this astrology? What is that astrology? What is this system of astrology? What is that system of astrology? Most importantly, sun always indicates growth. So there would be a desire for something to do with growth. I've reached 20 years. I've reached 50 years. I've reached 60 years. What am I doing with my life? I need to do something, right? I'm getting older day by day. I need to do something. So there would be a great desire or intention for growth. And his mind would be literally obsessed. Why? Because Rahu is all about obsession. So it would be obsessed about self-growth. It would be obsessed about learning, right? Again, development is sun. Planning is sun. So there would be complete dedication pertaining to all of that, right? Sun indicates what? Height. Sun indicates hill. So they would go to temples. They would go to temples in hill areas. Hill, which means what? Heights. Remember I told you mountains, hill station, that comes under Shani. But here we're talking about heights. So some height he has to climb. Sun also indicates what? Places of worship. So he will want to go, or he will go to a place of worship which is in the hill area. Next, your neighbors would vacate their house, right? Let's say you're having a neighbor for a very, very long time, suddenly they would vacate. Let's say the house which is in front of you is unoccupied for a very, very long time, suddenly somebody would come and occupy, right? So here we need to understand when we are talking about what? When we are talking about sun, we are talking about what? The Surya Kudumpa, which means family. In and around your family, what? We are talking about sun, which would always be closely associated with Shukra, which would be associated with Mercury. So when Rahu comes, automatically somewhere around your house, there would be a change. Which means if there is a neighbor, automatically there would be a vacation. There would be a vacation of that property, of that land. Each and every point I want people to apply for people who are born during the month of Chitra, which is Chaitra. Again, if it is the solar month, good. You just need to look into the position of sun. Or for people, those who are born during the month of Avani or Shravana. Or for people, those who are born during the month of Aipasi or Ashwin month. Or people who are born during the month of Margari or Marga Sireshaha. To be precise, the position of the sun. All of this will come. Heat-related ailments will be there. Why? Because sun indicates heat. So automatically something to do with, mild fever, all of this will be there. As I told you, sun indicates head. So automatically what would happen? There would be a plan for the construction of the terrace or the upper floor to your house, right? Or there would be an alternation. For a long time, nobody would have gone to the terrace. Suddenly somebody would start cleaning the terrace, altering whatever is there on top. Again, the fifth bhava or sun indicates your purvigam, which means what? Your ancestry. So suddenly there would be an interest pertaining to your ancestry, pertaining to whatever is associated with the ancestry, right? Again, if you're talking about ancestry, automatically you're also referring to the ancestors. So automatically there would be a connection with your ancestors. You would start performing whatever has to be performed in the form of tithi, tarpana, all of that would be performed to your ancestors. Let's say somebody is regularly doing that, suddenly he will cut that, right? It's as simple as that, which means the way you perform puja itself would change during this time, right? Let's say you go to a puja room, you do this, you start with this, you start with that. Or in your puja room, you have Ganesha facing this direction, you have Lakshmi facing this direction, you have Lord Krishna facing this direction. Suddenly you would alternate all of that. Suddenly you would put Ganesha in the north, you would put Mahalakshmi in the south. So there would be a change in the way you actually put the pictures or whatever is there in the puja room. Automatically there would be a change. All these things would happen. Which means point blank, you can go about and predict. But what you need to understand here is, you need to understand the Kala, Desa, Vartamana, which means what? Somebody is coming at a certain age. Is it marriage? Is it education? Is it promotion? Is it something to do with religion, ancestors? This is based on the person. Next point. There would be a glass that would break. You would break glasses during that time, or glasses would break during that time, right? See, I want you to tell something. I want you to remember this very important point. When a person comes to you and when you start predicting this person would literally become silent. And that is the success of you as an astrologer. And that is something that I want all of you to have, right? And when you're predicting, there should be, it is not that you predict blandly. There should be a lot of enthusiasm associated with it. There should be a way you weave everything. Weave means what? Not storytelling. Weave means what? Based on the points that I'm giving. So there should be a beautiful weave that is created that should be used to predict. Which means what? There is a land. There is an empty land. You will buy this empty land. This empty land would be owned by a couple or owned by a family who does not have a progeny. The answer would be a yes. This is the way you start making predictions. So the moment you start making predictions like this, the small thing would automatically make you one of the best, one of the famous astrologers in whichever area you are. For that, Now, this thing which I've told you an example, I'm just telling you an example here. It is not associated with sun. I'm just giving you an example here. For this, what you need to do is, once you understand the Graha Karakatwa, the Bhava Karakatwa, now you're understanding the Gochara Rahu, slowly you understand the Bhava. Once you intermingle all of that, the kind of magic that you create would be amazing. And, in just a matter of few years, you would be a known person, because this is the best investment in time that you're ideally making. So with this, we have come to sun. Let's actually go about with a very simple example chat. I will give you an example chat. Meanwhile, the parihara for this. What is the remedy for this? Very simple. Regularly practice the Surya Namaskara, right? Donate wheat, right? Light the Deebam or lamp. See, if somebody is lighting diya, they would stop lighting the Deebam during this time. If somebody is not lighting the Deebam, suddenly they would start lighting at this time. So it is good to light a lamp during this time, right? Mostly during this time, what would happen? Wheat, sun. So all of you eat chapatis, the northern part of India, even in the southern part of India, you eat chapati. You know what you would do at this time? Let's say you go to the grocery store and you buy atta. Let's say you buy the Ashirwad atta or the Pillsbury atta. You would stop buying atta. Instead of that, suddenly what you would do, you would start buying ready-made chapatis. Let's say for all these years you've been buying ready-made chapatis. Suddenly you would buy, you would buy flour, or you would buy the atta. Or let's say some person is buying the atta. What would happen is, why should I buy this Pillsbury atta? Why should I buy this Ashirwad atta? Let me go to the rice mill itself, get it grinded and come and use it. So things associated with sun in the form of what? Wheat, that would automatically change, right? And the moment you start predicting all of this, right? Which means you would give one, the other person will give you another thing. Again, you would give another thing. Again, you would be able to get something from a person. Immediately, you would be able to create a beautiful magic. And that can be only experienced when you experience that. You would tell something, the person would say yes, he will give you one additional point. With that additional point, again, you will predict what? Based on this Gochara Rahu. And you would literally, dazzle this person. And that is the beauty of Rahu, right? This is one thing. Now let's get into an example chat. Simple example chat, right? We can use this here. So let's make a small change here, right? Because this is about. Okay. Let's take a Kanya Lagna, right? Sun is here. So whose sun? He also becomes the Varyadhipati, which means problems associated to the sun, with the sun. Sun means what? Head. Lagna means what? Head. So naturally in the horoscope, there is a problem associated with what? Associated with the head. So immediately you can ask this person question, do you have, or did you have a problem or a head or an injury associated with the head? The answer would definitely be a yes. Now you can immediately tell this person there is a possibility of 2 injuries in your head. Why? Because this is a dual sign, Ubaya Rashi. What are the Ubaya Rashis here? We have Mithuna, which is Ubaya Rashi. We have Kanya, which is Ubaya Rashi. We have Dhanusha, which is Ubaya Rashi. Meena, which is Ubaya Rashi, which means what? One thing will repeat itself again, right? Dual signs. So again, there is an injury. Now, let me add 2 more planets or 2 more grahas. Let's use the word grahas, right? Mars here, right? Shani or Saturn here. So Mars has a drishti to the Lagna, to the Varyadhipati sun. This is a minus. Shani, who's considered as what? A natural malefic, is also aspecting sun, which means what? Confirm there is some problem associated with the head. Now, we are talking about a transit of Rahu here, which happened what? Previous year. So where would it be associated? I told you first bhava, correct? First here, which is Rishabha, correct? Next, here, right? Which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? Next is, this is associated. What? Vrishchaka. We are talking about the year 2021, right? August. Right? Next, it is associated with Kanya. So now you need to circle this, which means if there is an event associated with the head, a problem associated with the head, then it will happen during this time. So automatically what? An astrologer needs to forewarn this person. There is a problem associated with your head. Be careful. Be careful, especially when it comes to vehicles. Why? Because Mars is aspecting Sun, who is the Ashtamadhipati. Mars also indicates vehicles, right? So he's having the 4th drishti, right? Again, Shani, he also happens to be the 6th, right? And here we have 1, 2, 3, 5. Sorry, just a minute. 1, 5, 7, 9. Which means, what are the bhavas we are talking about? We are talking about 9th. We are talking about 5th. We are talking about 3rd. We are talking about 1. We are talking about 11. So even if there is a problem, he will escape. Not a grave danger, right? You know what happened to this person? This person was peacefully walking on the road. He was not even driving. He was not even riding. A car came in running speed. Right? And as the car came in running speed, there is stones. There are stones, small stones scattered on the road. So owing to the speed, the stone on the road, it did not find any other person. It only found him. And it went and it struck his head, and immediately a head injury. So he goes to the doctor, 3 stitches, pays the doctor money, goes back to the astrologer also, and pays him additional fee, right? This is one example. I will give you another example here. This is again a recent consultation. Right? Just a minute, let me just put this on charger. Recent means not very, very recent, but it happened. So a madam comes to the astrologer. She's based out of the US, right? The questions was purely pertaining to her career, her health. She was having a little bit of issues with her stomach. She's okay, fine. So, Kadaka Lagna, right? Bharani Nakshatra, right? Jananagala Rahu here, right? So the madam comes to the astrologer. Obviously, when I'm talking about the astrologer, I'm referring to me here. So she comes. Her question is pertaining to health issue, career. Here, we need to understand, sorry, not Mars here. Bharani Nakshatra, right? So moon will be here, right? So as it is, so her questions are pertaining to what? Health, job. I'm not answering any of this question. I'm telling, ma'am, if there is a possibility, you're in US, okay? So if there is a possibility, why don't you go back to India? Why? Because 1967 born, you need to use Kala Desa Vartamana. So how old is she? Almost 55 years old, right? As it is, there is a problem associated with the mother, both Moon and Rahu in Bharani Nakshatra, right? And this was something way back, when we are talking about Rahu in Vrishapa. But as Rahu was moving to Mesha, I told, I think it is good that you go to India. I didn't get a complete response from her because, obviously she would be, I am asking questions about my job, about my health. Why is he telling me to go back to India? Anyways, they have been associated. It's a chain of people who are associated. So she booked a flight. She came to India. She was with her mother. And I got a message that, sir, her mother passed away, right? So this is the way as to how you predict using Gochara Rahu. So Rahu is transiting what? Jananagala Chandra. Bhavas associated 2, 4, 6, 10. Which means the same combination will repeat itself again and again. Which means 18 years ago, again, the same combination was there. That time, no problem happened, which means you need to apply the concept of Kala Desa Vartamana. You need to look into the Dasha Bhukti. But here, mother is having a health issue. Will she recover? No, because this is the Karma Sthana, which means what? Problem. Previously, her mother was obviously not a working lady, but previously, in this case, what you can do based on the age of the person. Is your mother having a health issue? Is your mother looking out for a job? Is your mother looking for a job change? So this important thing should be kept in mind, right? So all of this, once you start predicting all of this, you would be amazed at the way you can go about and make predictions. Now, we will take a small break, a dinner break, and a dinner break for 10 minutes approximately. But before that, if you do have any questions, because now what would we be doing? We would be covering. Next, I would be covering for the other grahas. And if you do have any questions, you can go ahead. Which means what? Next, Rahu transiting Jananagala Chandra, Jananagala Mars. But before that, if you have any questions, see, Ashwinaya's question is, what if we have the Janmakala Rahu with the Jananakala Rashi in transit Rahu? So that will come here. That will come Rahu over Rahu, Rahu over Ketu. That will come. Remember, we have this entire month, right? You don't have to worry. But till now, do you have any questions? Do you have your horoscopes? Do you want to share something? Anybody? Okay, Divakar Ganeshaya, is it a yes for a dinner break or do you have a question? If you have a question, okay, fine. All right. So let's take a break for 10 to 15 minutes. So we are ready. Do we have any questions? If people are still having their dinner, it's fine. Meanwhile, we have a question from one of the students. Are we ready? Hello? Yes? Or I'll wait till all of you are ready.
Yes.
Right. So we had a question. I have a question from one client. See, question from Rajeshwari ma'am, Divya ma'am, whoever. See ma'am, you need to understand one thing. Is my voice loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we need to understand one thing. The Gochara of Rahu is a standard, ma'am. That does not change. Correct?
Okay.
Till October next year, the Gochara of Rahu won't change. But its relationship with your Lagna will change. So what is your Lagna?
Okay.
Meena Lagna. Am I correct?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right, ma'am? So
Yes.
I want all of you to help me. I don't know any astrology. All of you only know astrology now. Now you need to help me. All of you. Don't I would request all of you to contribute now. So,
can you please share your screen, sir? We can't
yeah.
hear. Can you please share
Oh
your
my
screen?
God, yes, I'm sorry, I did not share the screen. All of you can see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Now, all of you only have to help me. I don't know any astrology. You people are astrologers. You need to help me. Okay. So, the transit of Rahu Ketu is standard, right? For 18 months, it's standard, which means till next October, it will be the same. Now, madam is asking me, sir, I am Meena Lagna. So, will it impact me? Now, all of you have to help me out. Okay. Which are the Rashis Rahu will impact? All of you one by one tell me. I will mark as you tell me.
Dhanus,
Okay, very good.
Tula,
Very good.
and Leo.
Rishabha.
Rishabh?
Leo. Next one.
No, which one?
12. That is Mesham. Mesham.
Very good.
Simham.
Very good.
Simham. Tula. And
Very
Dhanus.
good. So we have Mesha, Dhanusha, Tulam, Simha. Right? Now we need to look at it from what perspective? From your bhava perspective. So what are the bhavas it impacts? 2nd, 6th, 8th, 10th.
8, 10, 10.
Right. Ma'am, in between an 8 bhava operated, no ma'am, recently? Remember you had asked me this question last week?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So this is the way you need to look at it. Right?
Yes.
Next is, before what concept we discussed? Sun. Where is sun in your horoscope, ma'am?
Mesham.
So now you need to apply all the rules that I told you, ma'am.
Okay.
Ornament.
Yes. Ornament.
Get it, ma'am? Kuladeva. When last did you go to your Kuladeva, ma'am?
During that time only I went to Kuladeva.
When last did you go, ma'am?
After a very long time. Just during that same time of September.
Ma'am, all the rules you start applying, ma'am. You'll get an answer.
September.
All the rules. Every rule, ma'am. By the way, sun also indicates the father-in-law. One student was not able to attend the class today. So he told me, sir, I'm not able to attend the class today. Just now I got a message. My father-in-law expired. So sun also indicates your father-in-law.
We went to do
Now
the
immediately don't put an expiry date for all of them. Right? The thing should be, the statement should be father-in-law will have a problem. Right? First you start with father-in-law. There would be a question about the father-in-law. They will open their mouth. Yes, sir, my father is like this. Then you start. Right? Yes, ma'am. You wanted to tell something? Yes, anybody else has any other question? Okay, all of you can, let me mute all of you can mute yourself. Divakaraya, please mute. Okay, now you can write down. Next, when Rahu, which means what? Rahu is here only. Where is he? He is in Mesha. When Rahu transits Janana Kala Chandra. So where would we have Chandra? Here, 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 or here. Which technically means what? In case you have a Mesha Rashi, which means what? If you have Ashwini Nakshatra, Bharani Nakshatra, right? Kartikeya, first Padha, Padha, Charana, whatever you wish to call it, right? Simha Rashi, if you have a Simha Rashi, if you have a Tula Rashi, right? If you have a Dhanusha Rashi. So this is for all of them. So you get a horoscope, right? You mark this and you see moon there. Immediately you need to start predicting. They should not open their mouth. You should open and tell everything, right? Point number 1. There would be a question pertaining to the mother. There would be a question pertaining to the mother. Respected students, please make it a point to learn, memorize the Graha, BHAVA, KARAKATHWAS. You don't even have to memorize it because I've taught you in a way where you can link each and everything. Because the moment you have the Graha KARAKATHWAS and the BHAVA KARAKATHWAS, you are a king. You are the queen of astrology. Nobody can beat you. The only thing that you need to keep in your hand is the Graha, BHAVA, KARAKATHWAS. The rest of the things that you're going to create is a history. In your family, you would be a well-known person as an astrologer, as a guide, as a person who can do some good even to your family. Amongst your circle also, you would be known. This is all that is required. So, in case you have not revised it, please revise it because I've told you simple ways to remember it, right? So many points. Just a minute. Let me just switch off. I think it's creating a little bit of noise for all of you. So this is a mandate. You don't miss out on the Graha Karakatwas and the Bhava Karakatwas. It's very, very important. You won't realize the importance of all of this now. 2 years, 5 years from now, you would realize what a big treasure has come to you. Such a big treasure. That time you come and meet me. The day you see that change, the change in the way people treat you, the change in the way you see things, that time you come and meet me. Because that time you would be benefited immensely, right? So moon indicates what? Indicates the mother. So first there would be a question pertaining to the mother. Does moon only indicate your mother? No, it also indicates your mother-in-law. So along with that, there would be a question associated with the mother-in-law. So for a 14-year-old kid, will we talk about mother-in-law? No. So that time you need to apply Kala, Desa, Vartamana, right? It's as simple as that. Next. There would be a change in the mother's body, mother's health, right? There would be a change in the mother's health, mother's well-being. Chandra indicates change. There would be a change of place. There would be a change of residence. Why? Because Chandra indicates movement. Chandra indicates journey. So if somebody is coming to you, there is a change associated with the place, which means what? Somebody is living in Delhi. He would say, I want to go to Canada. I want to go to US. I want to go to Chennai. Yes, there is a change. It is the other way around also. Somebody is in US. Somebody is in Canada. I want to come back to India. I want to come back to Delhi. I want to come back to Chennai. I want to come back to my place. The answer is a yes. First you start with, there is a change of place. Immediately you have hooked him. Immediately they would be dazzled. So, do you want to come back or do you want to go back? Or go there? Both of them will happen, which means for a person who wants to come back, he will come back. For a person who wants to go there, it will go there, right? Again, let's say mother's side relationship, there would be a change in relationship with them. Like, you know what? Your mother's side, nobody is talking to you. God knows from when. Or for a few years. Suddenly they would start talking to you. Or let's say in your mother's side, remember, always keep this analogy of what? Of a turner. The turner that you use in order to turn the dosa, in order to turn the chapati. If it is this way, this is heated, immediately it would go and flip it the other way around. Let's say they're talking to you very well. They are in very good talking terms with you. Who? Mother's side. Who? Mother. Mother-in-law. Suddenly they would stop talking to you. You don't know why. Right? If somebody is not talking to you for a long time, suddenly they would come. Who? From your mother's side. Suddenly they would come. Uncle, how are you? Auntie, how are you? This is how it would be. Right? Next, Chandra, Jala Graha, which means what? You would dig a bore in your land, in your property. Somebody may come with this question, I don't even have a house, where I would dig a bore. In front of your house, near a house, somebody would dig a bore. This will be there. You cannot change it, right? So you can boldly predict. You can boldly predict. Start predicting and see the results. In so many months, did somebody put a borewell near your house? The answer would be a yes, right? So if it is your house, yes. If it is not your house, it will be near here. In the house, there would be plumbing work. In the house, there would be work associated with water pipe. There would be a work or change associated with water purifier. Let's say the water is tasting very nice in your house. Suddenly, there would be a change of taste as far as the water is concerned. Tell these little things, students. Tell these little things, sir. Tell these little things, ma'am. The way you build your predictions, people would be amazed by it, right? So the taste of water will change. For so many years, the water was salty. For so many months, the water is salty. Suddenly, the water is tasting. For so many years, so many months, the water was tasting nicely. Suddenly, it has become salty. Both this will happen. The level of water will change. Let's say, the level of water is 100 meters or these many feet. Suddenly, it would come down. If it is less, it would come up, right? There would be a leakage of water. It is only during this time you will hear this sound, tap, 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 somewhere in your house. So immediately look at the Gochara of Rahu, right? It would be associated with Chandra, right? Now here, I want to add this other point here. See, as of now, we are talking about what? Rahu, which is in Bharani, right? 18 degrees, approximate. 18 degrees approximate, let's keep it that way. So we need to understand Rahu is going what? He's going in a reverse motion. So from 18, he's going to 17, 16 slowly. So let's say you are born during Kritika Nakshatra, first pada. Right? So it's right here. So Rahu is already crossed. So you won't find this impact. So always keep into account the degree of the Graha, right? So if you have a Bharani Nakshatra, clear cut, you will be able to see this, right? If you have a Kritika Nakshatra, right, you may not be able to notice it, but it would have happened, which means you can say it happened, right? Recently it happened, right? The other thing that you need to understand is, next is Rahu would also influence the next Rashi, which means from 18 degrees here till the next 18 degrees, he will be influencing. Which means, let's say somebody has a Revati Nakshatra, fourth pada, right? Immediately, whatever I'm telling, that would resonate with the Revati Nakshatra as well. Why? Because Rahu is already crossed, or he is in 18 degrees, 18, 17, 6. So slowly it would exert its influence on the other Rashi. This is a very important point that you need to understand, which means what? When you see the Graha, also look into the degree, which means, let us say Rahu here is in 18 degrees. If moon is in what? If moon is in 24 degrees, will you find the impact? No. If moon is in 20, when I'm talking about moon here, I'm talking about your natal moon, your Jananagala moon, 23, 24. So till he comes towards what? Till he comes towards this 17 degrees, you would have already gone through this impact. Who would go through this impact here on? Those who have Chandra in 17 degrees, 16 degrees, 15 degrees, they would find the impact. And since he has a grip over this 30-degree completely, people who have Revati Nakshatra, they would immediately find this impact. This is a small logic. If you don't understand it, it's okay. Once you revise, I want you all to revise this video, again, this part, you would be able to easily get it. It is not a big thing, right? This is a small thing that you need to keep in mind, right? So,
I have got a question here.
hello.
Sir, I have got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
I have got a question here. Does it mean that moon also is moving, isn't it? So whenever the moon comes into that frame, or only our Janma Tod?
Ma'am, as of now, ma'am, as of now, what are we talking about, ma'am? We are talking about a Gochara of Rahu over my natal moon. So my natal moon is when I was born, which Rashi? When I was born, which Nakshatra? When I was born, sun in which degree? Before. When I was born, moon in which degree? Do you get that, ma'am? Now, there's another way of answering this question also. Moon is regularly moving, no, ma'am. Moon is regularly moving. It frequently changes. So regularly, moon would come in association with Rahu. Am I correct? Right?
Yes.
So when moon comes in association with Rahu, not this Gochara Rahu. Not this Gochara Rahu. Let's say Rahu is somewhere in your horoscope. Let's say Rahu is here. So when moon comes in association, that time also you would have a symptom of all of this, because it is hardly, some time. So since it is some time, that time you will hear the tup tup sound. That time water will be leaking in your house. Right? Do you get the logic, ma'am? Right. Any other question, ma'am? Any other question? Anybody? Okay, so let's continue. Right? So water level will change. There would be a leakage pertaining to water. Right? There would be a change of water tank. Water tank is here. Suddenly you would say, no, as per Vastu, somebody told we should keep the water tank there. Immediately you would change that, right? Taste of the water would change. Bland taste, suddenly it would become tasty. Tasty water, suddenly it would become bland, right? Moon indicates what? It indicates food items. You will change your grocery store or your grocer. Who is selling you? Who is selling you your regular home needs? He will change his place. Right? Chandra indicates food. Suddenly you would have ideas to do something to do with food. Food business. Why don't I do something to do with food? Why don't I cook some different food? Right? Suddenly there would be an inclination towards agriculture. Right? Next to your house, there would be a teacher who would come. A teacher who would come, he would settle down next to your house. If there is a teacher who is already next to your house, he will move and go away somewhere. This is another point. Next, if some client is coming to you and you see this combination, as per the Kala Desa Vartamana, which means what? You need to understand. Immediately when you get the horoscope, look at this person's age. Look at this person's name. Look at this person's gender. All these things are important, right? Based on that, you predict. So based on the age, you can ask him, do you want to go for teaching as a profession? Do you want to go for nursing as a profession? Do you want to go for police, army as a profession? The answer would be a yes. Most likely, is there something to do with travel that you want to ask as far as the question is concerned? 100% yes. Right? Which means if he's in a foreign land, foreign means immediately don't go to Canada, immediately don't go to London, anywhere. If he is somewhere in a foreign land or a distant land, should I come back? Or if he is here, I want to go somewhere. These are the two questions that he will have. Basically, moon indicates your mind, which means mind itself will change. Before I was like this, now suddenly I am like this. I don't know why. I don't know what has happened, right? Which means people who are extremely happy, they will suddenly become sad. People who are extremely sad, suddenly they would become happy. This is the way it would be when a Jananagala Chandra is associated with what? Is associated with Gochara Rahu. Let's say you're having this is out of subject, but I'm just telling you, let us say you're suddenly having a dream where you're laughing, suddenly you're laughing. That means it indicates a start of a Rahu Dasha. Now, Rahu is like the doctor who tells you, nothing is going to happen. It's a small surgery. It's a small syringe. I'm just small syringe I'm going to put. Nothing is going to happen. And he will take a big syringe and put it. This is Rahu. What is Ketu? Ketu is the same doctor. He would end up scolding you. Sit here, sit there. Why are you coming with the shoes inside the hospital? Why aren't you wearing your mask? So much of scolding he will give, and he will give one small, tiny injection, and it will prick you. This is the difference between Rahu and Ketu. Which means, if Rahu is like, if Rahu is like this dosa turner, Ketu is all about constraint. Which means, how do you imagine Ketu? Very, very simple. You have your toaster, bread. You make your bread, you have your toaster, right? So what happens in a toaster when you put your bread inside? It is eating from both the sides. At least here, Rahu, it is a sudden turn. But here in Ketu, we are talking about a bread, a toaster, where it is toasting in both the sides. That's the difference between Rahu and Ketu, right? Next point, they would go for jogging, running. Why? Because Chandra is about running. That's the reason I told you why Chandra is associated with police, why Chandra is associated with military, army, all these places they run. Let's say somebody is regularly going for a jog every morning, suddenly they would stop jogging. Which means if this is there, that will stop. If that has stopped, this will resume. Again, here also there would be a problem, or there would be a concern. Let's put it as a concern. He will be concerned about his heart. Will I get a heart problem? Will I get a heart attack? Will I get a chest pain? I think I'm having a chest pain. All of this will come. Next point, they would get emotional. Necessarily or unnecessarily, they would just get emotional, right? Next point, they will vomit. There would be food poisoning, which means all these points, when a person has sat down, you found that, he's a Mesha Rashi, he's a Dhanusha Rashi for this year only. So next year, again, post-October, don't ask me. Again, you need to do the shift, right? Where Rahu would move into Meena Rashi. So for next year, what? Meenam. For next year, what? Again, what? You need to start counting. Vrishchakam, right? So for next year, what? Kanya. For next year, what? Again, Karaka, right? So it changes, which means the cycle of life, the transition of life itself is indicated by Rahu, right? So here, one, food, Rahu. Automatically, food poisoning will happen. They should be careful. So let's say that degree is crossed. Immediately, we can ask this question. Recently, did you have a problem? Recently, did you eat food somewhere? Was there food poisoning? The answer would be a yes. Number two, they will take great interest in making themselves look attractive, right? Or a person who's been, taking care of themselves, they would put powder, they would put lipstick, suddenly they would stop doing that, right? Which means you just need to indicate, is there a change in the way you beautify yourself, you dress yourself, you present yourself? The answer would be a yes. There would be association, next point, with the media, or if there is already an association with the media, that would change because moon indicates media. They will want to go to a lake, go to a pond, go to a river and have a bath. During this time, they should be careful. So as an astrologer, you should tell them, no, wait for the next transit. Don't go now. Why? Because it can give dangers associated with water. Warn them, right? I told you, Chandra indicates the mother. Chandra also indicates the mother-in-law. So mother-in-law will also have a change in her health, change in her body. There would be concerns pertaining to her health. There would be a change of location of the mother-in-law. She will be with you, she will go there. Or she will be there, she will come to you. Next point, there would be wheezing, there would be cold, cough. All of this will happen. To whom? To you. They will be separated with the mother. Or if they have already been separated with the mother, suddenly they would join with the mother. Which means after a long time, the mother will come. There would be travel. Next point. Keep traveling because both of them indicate travel. Chandra indicates travel, Rahu indicates travel. So have you been traveling a lot in the recent times? The answer would be yes. There would be a change in the education. Change in the education, what? As a process, which means a person would be studying regularly. Suddenly what? Suddenly he would give a gap in his studies. Suddenly he would not be focused in his studies. A boy would not be studying itself. He won't take his books. Suddenly, he would get up late in the midnight and start studying. Change, right? There would be an interest to learn foreign languages. Somebody from South, suddenly you would you would want to learn or you would start learning Hindi. Not literally going and joining Dakshina, Hindi Prachar Sabha. 2-4 words. Ek gaon, ek kisan tha. That's one word. This is Hindi for you, right? If you are in Hindi, immediately you will start calling somebody Anna, which means there would be something associated with the foreign language that you would start during this time. There would be a change in the vegetables. Vegetables that you eat. So many days eating beetroot, suddenly eating carrot. From carrot to beetroot, right? You would grow plants or you would take plants out. Chandra indicates plants, right? You would change the brand of your rice. Recently, did you change your rice brand? Yes. Just imagine this kind of prediction. What would happen to that person? Chandra indicates rice. You would change the brand of your rice. You would change the shop from where you buy your rice. Or you would go straight away to the mill and buy rice. There would be a change associated with that. What is the parihara associated with Chandra? I've given you enough of pariharas associated with Chandra, but what is the easiest one? Anna Dhanam, which is what? Offering food, right? Paurnami Varibade, which means what? During the Purnima, observing a vratha, or, cooking the curd, making curd rice, putting grapes, giving it to people, gazing in the night sky, sitting on the terrace and gazing on the full moon. All of this is a wonderful, wonderful remedy for accentuating the moon, right? Most importantly, offering or donating buttermilk. You don't put sugar, you don't put water. Just donate buttermilk, right? Automatically, there would be a change. See, the most important thing, I just want to give you another pariharam also. I wanted to give you this when we started the session itself. See, Moon Rahu, that is one thing. But in your horoscope, let's say you have a Shani Chandra combination in your horoscope, which is what? In a Rashi, let's say somebody has a Moon Shani combination, right? Or it could just be, somebody who's born during a Pusha Nakshatra or Pushya Nakshatra ruled by Shani, right? Or it could also be, let's say Shani is here, right? And Moon is here. So this is also a combination, right? Again, throughout these sessions, I've been discussing about, combinations in a way. But let me also add another point since we just discussed about degrees. Because see, astrology should be taught to you layer by layer, little by little. When I teach you little by little, that's when you learn, right? Remember, anything that you do, anything that you want to develop with love, patience, you want to develop it as a passion, You don't hustle with it. Hustle, this is a very common word which had been or which has been recently used. It's very, very popular just for this last 5 years, 6 years, or 7 years. It was not popular before. What is hustle? Hustle is like, you're like this go-getter. Somewhere or the other, I need to push myself to get this. I need to work day and night, then I will be successful. No, that is not the way you develop a passion. That is not the way you develop a business. That is not the way you develop a job also. Why? Because you will get burnt out. See, if hustle is a word that all of us have been, getting to know over these few years, this word called burnout also is something that we are getting to know these years, right? You will find these software engineers, they will say, I'm burnt out, because day in and day out, they are sitting and coding, testing, right? So if you hustle in life, you will get burnt out fast, right? You would lose your interest. So how should you learn astrology? You should learn 1 or 2 hours every day. After that, one small break. After that, you should go for a walk. After that, you should relax. Don't spend your time too much on your mobile devices, seeing this video and that video. No. Take rest. Be relaxed when you read. Give breaks, so that when you give breaks, you immediately contemplate, you get good ideas. And this is the way you don't hustle, but you slow hustle, which means slowly you do things, slowly you develop. As you develop it slowly, but steadily. Steadily. This US Navy, they have this motto. What is it called? Slow as smooth, smooth as fast. Which means it should be slow and steady. And this is the solution for a Punarpu dosha. Which means what? When we are talking about a Punarpu dosha, that is what? A delay, a setback. You will plan something at the last moment. When you plan something, it will change. So whatever you're planning, don't tell it to anybody. Don't confirm it till it is confirmed. But most importantly, you have the story of the hare and tortoise. You have the story of hare and tortoise. What? The hare goes fast, right? The rabbit or the hare. He runs fast, but the tortoise slowly and steadily goes and wins the race. So a parihara for a Punarpu dosha is just keep seeing a photograph of a hare and tortoise. That's it. Your delays would get solved. And keeping this in mind, you should slowly hustle when it comes to astrology, layer by layer. Now, again, since we spoke about combination, I'm going to add another small concept here. Let's say Shani is here, right? Anywhere it could be. Let us say Shani is in 23 degrees, right? And let's say Moon is here. Now, in no ways, if you look at it from a very, very astrological perspective, based on the rules we have discussed, we cannot call it a Punarpu. We cannot call it a combination of Shani and Chandra. But let us say this Moon, the degree is very important here. Let us say Moon is in how many degrees? In 10 degrees. Now you need to keep this in mind. We are talking about a Jananagala Jataka. We're talking about a Jananagala horoscope. We always need to, whenever we are looking at a Graha, we need to look at the degree in which it is. And we need to keep this in mind till that next 23 degree, it has an influence. Which means here, if this was not a 23 degrees, let's say it was let's say it was 15 degrees, then immediately you should change. Till the next 15 degree, it will have an influence. So let's say 15 to 15 degree, this Shani has an influence. And let's say Moon is at 3 degrees. Then also you call it a Shani Moon combination. This is the way you look at it. This is a additional point. So slowly, I want you to feed you with things so that you don't get overwhelmed. You're digesting everything. It should just be that you're taking everything inside your stomach. And when you're having free time, don't give too much of gap to study. Otherwise, you will forget. You should immediately look at it, apply it. Take your father's horoscope, mother's horoscope, wife's horoscope, husband's horoscope. Once you apply it, this logic won't go away from you, right? So you should keep this in mind, right? So here, I've told you the pariharas associated with Chandra. Associated, I wanted to add this parihara associated with Punarpu also. This is like a small tip, right? Most importantly, this is the time when people need to be careful about getting addicted to drinks, addicted to alcohol, right? Any form of a drink. It could be alcohol, it could be soft drinks. Somebody who's not drinking Coca-Cola, Limca, Pepsi, 7-Up, suddenly they would start drinking all of that, right? Which means when a Janana Kala Chandra is transited by a Gochara Rahu, one should be very, very careful about the habits that they develop. It would be difficult for them to lead or leave those habits during that time. But let's say somebody has become a habitual drinker, not a chronic drinker. Then what did I tell you? Remember, I told you this rule of, what? There is a question. I'm not going to look into the questions. If it's something very, very urgent, you can unmute yourself. Otherwise, questions towards the end, Aya. Otherwise, Aya, ma'am, whoever it is, I'm not even looking at it. It will take time, right? So let's say somebody is a habitual drinker. Then what? Remember, I told you about this dosa turner, chapati turner, which means what? This will become that, that will become this. So suddenly they would go to Shabarimala, which means this is also a time to what? Quit drinking. This is also a time to what? Get out of drinking. See, remember one important thing. See, all of you are becoming astrologers. Astrologers will have a few, they would have a few points with which they play. That is because of lack of knowledge also at times. Using Rahu, they will frighten you. Using Ketu, they will frighten you. Shani, no. See, when we are talking about the transit of Rahu, especially Rahu, okay, 70% of what Rahu does is always good. Let's say, ma'am, we have a student. She went somewhere, she lost something. If you're not getting something back, remember, there is something from you which needs to go away, and it is good. It is going in that way. Which means 70% of what Rahu does is absolutely good. Look back at the transits of Rahu. The biggest of things, which means unimaginable things that you wanted to do in life, you would have achieved it only during the transit of Rahu. Which means what? Chain smoker, chain drinker, suddenly he would stop drinking, right? So all these things are very, very important points. Is he drinking now? Okay. Tell him to go to Shabarimala. Tell him to practice this, practice that. I've given you a list of remedies for all of that. Tell them to do it now, right? If somebody is like a sannyasi, then, suddenly if they are going outside, tell them to be careful. Tell them not to develop some habits. It can just be not always. See, one rule that you need to understand, especially when it comes to alcohol, is when the fourth bhava in the person's horoscope is weak, when Chandra is weak in the horoscope, when Shukra is weak in the horoscope, that is when they would develop something to do with a drinking or develop a liking towards alcohol, right? So when people have this combination or permutation in the horoscope, it is advisable for them to stay away from that. Otherwise, they would get addicted to it. That is how it is. Of course, when we get into the bhavas, month by month, I will give you the other combinations also, right? So it would create a habit of drinking. Most importantly, when Rahu is transiting Janana Kala Chandra, you would be cheated. You would get disappointed and cheated by somebody. You should be careful during that time, right? This is a very important rule. Which means when somebody is planning to start something, do something, depend on some person at that time, tell them not to do it at that time, right? I've also given you a way to look at the degrees as well, right? So if it has crossed, you can tell. If it has not crossed, then you should be careful, right? If it is a woman's horoscope at that time, again, don't tell this for a 10-year-old girl. Don't tell this for a 6-year-old girl, right? But always keep in mind, take into account the age of the person, take into account each and everything about the person should be taken a note of, the way they are coming to you, the way they are looking. All of this is the place from where they come. Then you utter these words. If it is a girl's horoscope or a lady's horoscope, there would be problems associated with uterus. Let's say there is no problem associated with uterus in the horoscope. Why? Because usually when we are talking about uterus, ideally the 4th bhava and the 9th bhava, usually astrologers also consider the 8th bhava. We will get into that when we get into the bhavas. But let's say there is no problem with the uterus in the horoscope. So during this time, you will have a concern about the uterus. Suddenly you would go to the doctor. Suddenly you would go to the gynecologist. Suddenly you would do a check. All of this will happen for women. For men and women, heart. That is another thing, right? Which means when a change or a transit of Rahu happens, automatically it initiates all these things. And these are beautiful ways as to how you can predict in a horoscope, right? And a transit of Rahu is a wonderful period for you to actually start planning something. See, if Rahu is transiting somewhere based on your bhavas, based on the grahas in your horoscope, then 18 months, it is going to transit somewhere else. What do we say? I wanted to build this house. I wanted to build this room. I wanted to get into this job. I wanted to start this business, which means everything starts with a plan. So based on the transit of Rahu, you can start planning your life. See, as of now, the hottest, the best, and most developing part of technology is data sciences. Data sciences where they gather data from all of you. Recently, I was just seeing a video where somebody was telling, see, it's very, very risky for us to wear, this watches. You have these watches which monitor your BP now, they monitor your pulse rate, they monitor everything, how many calories you've burnt a day. So every information of yours is being fed into a mobile phone, which means what? They are collecting data. So using this data, they can actually go about and create problem for you, which means the hottest subject perhaps is artificial intelligence and data sciences. But to be very, very frank, and what do? They collect all that data and they use it to sell you something. They think this is your interest. You know what? To be very, very frank and honest, this is a very, very outdated form of collecting data from a person, right? Because let's say somebody is even watching this video, right? Because, the first class always, that would be there for everybody. And if they attend the full month program, this is enough for them to understand, because everybody, somewhere or the other, there is something called as the Aadhaar card. They have access to all your information already. When you are born, your birth detail, everything is there. The only missing element now is, your birth time and birthplace. I don't think in Aadhaar card, your birthplace is there. But if it is there, that is added, and the day your birth time is also added, and the day somebody learns this course, which is Gochara Rahu, immediately they can start planning. This year you will have this problem. This year you will like this. This year you won't like this. And they can feed you this data. So now you tell me, giving you a watch, making you install an app, they collecting data from you. Don't you think this is like reinventing the wheel rather than just understanding this is his birth detail? This is where Rahu is going to transit now. He will be interested in food. He will change his rice brand. He has a problem with his toilet. This year he will have a problem with his toilet. Let us put advertisement there. Don't you think this is a better way? This is a better way. This is the right way, in fact, right? So sometimes technology seems retarded in the way they actually approach things, right? Next is, so I've told you about drinking, alcoholism, or just getting into something associated with drinking. Women's horoscope, I told you. Next is, you will change your paste. Tell that. You're using close-up. You will change your, have you changed your paste brand? The answer would be a yes. You would change your tea leaves. You're buying tea leaves, this company, Brook Bond, suddenly 3 roses. 3 roses, suddenly Brook Bond. Tea to coffee, coffee to tea, tea to green tea to coffee. All of this will happen during this time. Tell it, try it, and then let me know, right? So here, you need to keep this in mind. A transit of Rahu is a wonderful time for you to actually plan things. 18 months is there. This is what I'm going to plan. Next 18 months, this is going to happen. This is how I'm going to plan. And first you start planning for yourself, your family, then you start guiding others. And you would be amazed at the way people would even look at you. They would start looking at you from a very, very different angle. But as I told you, it is not that I give you a gun and you keep firing. No, slowly, steadily you should tell. Otherwise, you would make a tomfoolery of yourself. One thing at a time, one prediction at a time, and you should slowly get that confidence. And automatically, believe me or not, the way you actually go about and do things, predict things, approach a chart itself would be very, very different for you. Which means, as I told you, for a Meena Rashi itself, all these predictions would slowly start working. It purely depends on the degree, which means what? As it moves closer, Revati Nakshatra people, they would start experiencing. Uttaratadiya, Uttarabhadrapada Nakshatra, they would start experiencing slowly, right? So it just needs to reach that 15 degrees. So for that, you just need to keep a check on the Panchang or the degree, which is available readily. You just need to go into the Drik Panchang, right? Next is, this is one important thing. So it's important to check the degree. That is one thing. Next, most importantly, when you get a horoscope, you need to keep age into consideration. You need to consider the Kala Desa Vartamana, and then you need to predict, right? So let's say somebody's coming to you. Immediately you have all these points and you start. The child will go abroad. This is time for the child to go outside. Without looking at the age, without looking at anything. What would they tell you? What would they reply to you? They would say, child is just 3 days old, sir. We just came to see if you can give a good name for the child. You can suggest a good name for the child. So haven't you ended up making a fool of yourself, right? So you should be careful, which means as per the age, you should go about and predict, right? Because if the child is small, then what would you say? Gochara Rahu moving over Jananagala Chandra. The child will live away from the mother. It will go to the grandfather. It will go to some relative in the house. It will be in the relative's house or the grandfather, grandmother's house or with the grandfather for a long time. Little more age. If the child is going for swimming, attending swimming classes, going near a river, lake, be careful. Next is, next age, is this person interested in running? She will go for running. He will go for running. Next is what? Is he interested in police? Is he interested in army? They will go. This is the way you should predict. You should consider all of this, right? Again, now we also need to keep this in mind. Chandra gets exalted, sun gets exalted. So does it mean that, a Graha which gets into an exaltation that does not bear the brunt or the fruit or the phala of Rahu? No. Whether it is Ucha, whether it is Neecha, whether it is in Moola Trikona, all of that does not matter, right? Rahu does its job irrespective of whether a Graha is exalted, whether a Graha is debilitated, or whether a Graha is strong or not. The only difference here is the level of it varies, right? When a Graha is strong, the problem has come, but you're able to bear with it. When a Graha is not strong, you're already not strong, you're not able to bear with it. This is the only difference that you actually need to see, right? Again, when a Jananagala Rahu or when a Jananagala Chandra is orbited by a Gochara Rahu, or as I was telling Madam sometime back, when Chandra transits your Jananagala Rahu, when you go with your two-wheeler or four-wheeler, you should be careful, especially in petrol bunk. Instead of putting diesel, you will put petrol. Instead of putting petrol, you would put diesel. Or let's say, you put speed petrol. They would put normal petrol. All these little confusions will happen during the connected periods of Rahu, Chandra in your horoscope, right? Again, if a person is staying there, steady in one place, it would want to allow the person, or that person would want to move to another place. Similarly, Chandra is always about flow, which means there would be a concern pertaining to what? The flow of money. Chandra is also associated with what? When the flow is continuous, then you would automatically take loans. So throughout this period, when Rahu Chandra, two main concerns would be what? Earnings and most importantly, loans. Right? Next is the place where you're staying itself. You will have a doubt whether this place is proper or not. Am I staying in the right house? Is this the right house for me? Is the Vastu of this house proper? All of these problems would be there when Rahu transits Jananagala Chandra. Again, this place where I'm staying, why not actually go and sell it? Why not I move to some other place? All these things will come. Especially somebody would come from nowhere. Ideally, he would have a nakshatra of Rahu. Right? They would say, what is the social drinking? Be a man, drink. Women also drink these days. Why are you not drinking? Be careful during that time. So when will it happen? When, there is a nakshatra of Rahu. When there is a nakshatra of Rahu, that will happen during that time, owing to a person who has a nakshatra of Rahu. Again, when it comes to Chandra, when it comes to Sun also, when will it happen? It will happen on a Sunday, right? Because see, Sunday, class is happening. 2 news is already about what? Somebody's father. So this is the way it would ideally happen. Again, when will this happen associated with Chandra? Not just with Rahu. It can also happen on a Monday, right? So you can actually go about and add all of this. Again, apart from leakage in the house, that is the time when a Rahu transits your Jananagala Chandra, that is when there would be a leakage in the house. And most importantly, you will buy, laminated photographs of gods, goddesses in your house. So you will buy a photo of Ganesha, a photo of, let's say you would buy a photo of Ganesha if it is your Lagnadhipati's Dasha. Remember I spoke to you about the Lagna. Let's say your second bhava is operating. You will buy a photograph of Mahalakshmi, right? Or you will buy a photograph of Venkatachalapati with Padmavati, right? Let's say you're going through a dasha of your fifth bhava lord. Automatically, again, something to do with Shiva, something to do with Parameshwara, something to do with your Kuladeva, right? Again, what you would do is you would dispose of the old clothes in your house. Next point is, if one is somewhere, somebody would come and they would bring you, either they would bring you Panjamradam, especially if you are in the southern part of India, or they would bring you Tirtham from somewhere. Let's say the other thing will also happen. There would be a Tirtha from a holy place that you would be keeping in your house for a very, very long time. One, either somebody would come and say, you should sprinkle it in your house. So suddenly you would open it and sprinkle it, or you would change the place where you keep it. Right? So with this, we have come to the end of Chandra and we would be moving towards Mars or Kuja. Before that, anybody has any question? Let me just look into the question by Divakar Ganesha. What is it here? If you want me to repeat again.
It is regarding the Punarpu dosha, the degrees of Moon and Saturn.
Okay.
Where to look and what to look there.
Yeah, we are on the screen only, no? So let me just.
The degrees are missing, actually, that's why it's true.
No, I'll explain it to you, don't worry. What is Punarpu dosha? Yeah, Punarpu dosha is a connection between, let's use the word connection, let's use the word combination, right? Conjunction is very, very easy to understand. Conjunction means 2 grahas in 1 rashi, right? Again, I've told you ways to look at combination. Always keep into mind, 30 degree is the area of influence of 1 graha to another graha, right? Yeah. Let us say Saturn is here. It can be anywhere for that matter, right? Saturn is here in 15 degree. So from this 15 degree here to next 15 degree, to make it little more illustrative, this 15 degree, Saturn is in 15 degree. This 15 degree, he will have an influence. Do you get it, Aya?
Yes, yes.
Let's say moon is in, so moon is in 1 degree, will it have an influence, Aya? Yes. 2 degree, 3 degree, 4 degree, 5 degree, 6
Definitely
degree.
be there, correct.
Till 15 degree, it has an influence.
Okay.
Which means this can be considered as a combination.
Okay.
Let's say now moon is in 16 degree or 17 degree. No, you cannot take it as an influence, right? Okay, now I will add one more layer to it. One more layer. Don't get overwhelmed. I'm just doing it slowly, little by little. Okay. Let us say Shani is in VAKRA Gati. VAKRA means what, Aya? No Graha travels backwards. But from
retrograde.
our point of view, it is looking like it is moving backwards. So now you're going to look at it anti-clockwise.
Okay.
So let's say moon is here. This you can use for all grahas, all combinations. Let's say moon is in 15 degree, right? So till the 15 degree here in Meena Rashi, it will have its influence. So here Meena Rashi 15 degree, post 15 degree what comes? 16, 17, 18 till 30.
Mhm.
You get it? Because
Yes, yes.
the Rashi Chakra goes like this, right?
Correct, yes.
So Meena Rashi, 0 degree to 30 degree is here. Correct?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
absolutely fine if people are not getting it. Just one rewind, you will understand. These are not big things, okay? All of you. 0 to 30 degrees is here. So now we are telling Shani is in Vakra Gadi, which means what? We need to look at it in an anti-clockwise motion. So from 15 degree to 1 degree in Mesha, influence is there. From 13 degree to 15 degree, that influence is there. So now let us say moon is here in 27 degrees. Is it a combination? Yes, it is a combination. Let us say moon is here in 14 degrees. Is it a Shani moon combination? No, it is not a combination. Do you get it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
One more question to you. Say Sunny is any of the other bhavas. If moon is in the say in Kumbha, it will affect, no, right?
I didn't get your question. Shani is in?
Suppose say Sunny is in Leo.
Shani is in Simha.
Simha. If moon is in Kumbha.
Moon is in
Because
Kumbha.
moon is position is Shani is Rashi.
Okay. Moon is positioned in Shani's Rashi. Okay.
Then it will have a Punarpu dosha. Because moon is in all Shani's Rashi.
Aya, Shani's aspect is 3rd, 7th, and what Aya? 10th. Shani would aspect. Do we have a Graha here, Aya?
No.
Then what is the next aspect? Shani would aspect
7th.
Do we have a Graha here, Aya?
Yes, yes.
So is it a combination?
Okay.
Do you get it, Aya?
Yes, yes.
Next,
So in this case,
Shani aspect?
dosha, no Graha. There will be dosha effect here, right?
You see, dosha means what? Delay. Punarpu means delay.
Yeah.
You plan something, last minute it will change.
Okay.
Right. So that is how it is. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Sir,
Yes,
just now you said Saturn and Moon. Saturn is aspecting the 7th house. This is aspecting, not Punarpu dosha, no, sir.
It's a combination, ma'am. That's the reason I told all of you in the beginning itself. Simple way.
Punarpu dosha means a combination. Okay.
Simple way. No. Punarpu dosham is always conjunction, ma'am. Mostly it is conjunction, which means what? Sun, moon. They would say Punarpu.
Okay.
Light Punarpu is those who have the nakshatra of Shani. Right?
Okay.
But in order to look at the impacts of Punarpu, look at this. You would get it. Right?
Okay.
Which is, you're talking about aspects. Right? And you're also talking about degrees also. Right?
So in this case, we can say aspecting, right? So it will be there, right?
Yes, sir, yeah, it will definitely be there.
Okay.
Both moon is aspecting Shani because all grahas have their seventh aspect. Right? Don't take Rahu Ketu. Automatically, you need to take it. How do I check if it is working or not? How is your mother's health? How is your job? Shani indicates your job, right?
Okay.
If you're outside, fine. Till you're outside, till you're traveling somewhere, it is fine. Or if you're doing something to do with, most of the people, you will find many people who are working in the hotel industry, caterers, people who are, doing something to do with food. Day and night, they are saying food. They will have a hatred towards food after a certain time. They would have Punarpu doshas, right? Or Chandra Shani combination in the horoscope will be there somewhere or the other, right? Mother's health, extremely hardworking lady. Why? Because Chandra indicates mother, Shani indicates work. But at the same time, health complications, right? That's how it is. Yeah. So this is the way you judge a horoscope. Yes, ma'am. Do you have any questions, ma'am? Further questions?
No, sir.
All right.
No,
Any
sir.
other questions? Any other questions? Anybody?
No, sir.
Okay. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll just get some water and come. Just a minute. It's getting. Okay. So let's continue. So, see, this is not a part of today's topic, but just as a part of giving tips. What is Shani trying to tell you? As I always tell you, I'm ready to give you patience. Shani just gives you what? Patience. Have patience. Wait. That is what Shani is trying to tell you. Shani is trying to do what? Shani will give delays. Is it good to have a delay? Yes, it is good to have a delay to contemplate. Right? It is good to have patience. What does the moon want? Moon indicates your mind. I want this, I want that. So delay and something to do with, what? Patience is interacting with moon or Chandra, which is moving quickly. So the solution to that is what? Have patience, right? Don't hustle. And the solution to that is what? Just keep looking at the photograph of a hare and a tortoise. That is sufficient, right? Let's move towards Mars, right? So now we have Rahu here. When Gochara Rahu transits where? Janana Kala Mars. So if you have Mars here, Kuja here, or here, right? What would happen? Without the person telling you anything, you should be able to tell something. 1, there will be a birth of a younger sibling. Now use it judiciously, right? 40-year-old person is coming. 50-year-old person is coming. Congratulations, sir. You're going to get a younger brother. Don't, right? If a newlywed husband, wife, after they have delivered a child, obviously, they're coming to you, right? With their child's horoscope. Yes, there is a birth of a sibling. All of you can take your horoscope. All of you can take your horoscope if you have a younger sibling, because Mars indicates younger sibling. Can I take my sister also into account if I have a sister? Yes. If Mars is weak in your horoscope, then it is a sister. If Mars is strong in your horoscope, then it is a brother. There are only 2 conditions for you to have a younger sibling as per the transit of Rahu. When a Gochara Rahu is associated with Mars. Or, remember I spoke to you about a combination, let's say the 3rd bhava. which indicates the younger sibling. The 5th bhava, which indicates what? Birth. The 11th bhava, which indicates, what? Which indicates profit, gain, which means the 3rd bhava will automatically be reflected by the Gochara Rahu. These two combinations only have to be there when your sibling is born, which means you take your horoscope, you put Rahu, which year your sibling was born, you would automatically get the answer. This is a homework. I want all of you to try it, and you can update me if in case you have a sibling, younger sibling, right? So when somebody is coming to you with their children's horoscope or their child's horoscope, automatically, when you see this combination, you can ask them, are you trying for another child? Do you want another child? Yes, there is a child awaiting, as far as something to do with whose horoscope? Your child's horoscope, right? So you can try, you can tell them that, right? Next is, here, you can ask them this question. Have you come asking for what? If they immediately show you their child's horoscope, is there a question pertaining to the birth of another child? You can ask this question. That would automatically be there, right? Next is, Mars is considered as a Mangala Karaka, right? So is there a question pertaining to a marriage? Immediately the answer would be yes. Is there a change pertaining to a marriage? That will also be a yes. Which means somebody would be there, let's say the horoscope. In that horoscope, they would be waiting for a marriage to happen for years together. Suddenly they would say, I don't want marriage now. Next is, there would be a person who would not be interested in marriage. No, what marriage? Why should I get married? Suddenly they would say, I want to get married. Why? Because Mars is a Mangala Karaka. So if this is the way, that will happen. That is the way this will happen. If it is a woman's horoscope, immediately there would be a question pertaining to the husband. What would be the question? The husband has changed the place. He's changed the location. He is moving. There is a change. There is a change in the nature of my husband, right? So if some person is married, newly married girl, this is for a girl, right? Because in a woman's horoscope, in a Stri's horoscope, as per Parashara, we use Guru. We can also use Mars, which indicates the husband. There would be a change in the husband's behavior. There would be a change of place of the husband. There would be a question pertaining to the husband. So if they are newly married, and if you see this question, what should you tell? Or anybody, even if you're not newly married, immediately you should tell them, wait for 18 more months, or wait till the transit. This will be change. Or just be a little careful. Have a watch. This is how it should be, right? Next is, those who are not married, they will get married. Again, if they are married, especially if they are women in general, they should be careful. The nature of the husband will change a little bit. Husband will travel outside, move outside, right? There would be some problem or the other associated with the husband also. Why? Because Mars also is considered as the Ashtama Bhava of the Kala Purusha, right? Again, for a girl who is not married, immediately you should say, yes, there is an alliance would come, right? Mars indicates supervision, which means what? There would be a change of role. See, if you're a supervisor, if you're a manager, also you can take Mars. Anything which requires supervision is Mars. So there would be a change of role. Or if you're reporting to a manager, there would be a change of your supervisor. Next is Mars indicates land, right? You would want to sell your property or you would want to buy a property. If a person is there for years together, months together, he is hell-bent on selling his property, suddenly he would say, no, I don't want to sell my property. Or let's say a person is completely attached to his property. If a person is completely attached to his property, suddenly he would want to sell his property, right? We're talking about the person whose Mars is associated with what? Associated with Gochara Rahu. right? The place where you're staying itself, there would be changes associated with that place, which means you would do some alteration to your house, right? Why? Because Mars indicates land. Mars indicates the property where you build your land, right? Mars indicates your sibling, which means a sibling who has not been talking to you for years together, months together, suddenly he would come to you and call you Anna, right? Call you whatever it is called in the northern part of India. So somebody who has not been talking to you will talk, who? Your younger sibling. Somebody who has been talking to you for a long time, suddenly they would stop talking to you, right? Most importantly, you need to understand one important thing here, right? Sir, ma'am, all of you, respected sir, ma'am, 70% of whatever Rahu gives is always good, is always towards development. Which means if the brother is moving outside, moving away, all of that is a good news, right? But you just need to connect the bhavas. Of course, this is the first session. So automatically, now the other question would be, see, sir, you are explaining about sun. Okay, I understood. You are explaining about moon. Okay, I understood. Now you are explaining about Mars. I understood. What if Rahu is simultaneously associated with Mars, moon, and sun? How will you predict? So yes, we need to look at that also. So all of this will come to you. You don't have to worry. In fact, more the number of grahas, the amount of juice, the amount of color, the amount of, the amount of magic that you can create too. The prediction is beautiful. Let's say you're starting with, what? So did you change your toothpaste? Did you change the tea leaves? Did you actually go about one by one as you predict? This person would be mesmerized, right? But see, you should not only do this. See, a Gochara Rahu is like, payasam. So payasam is there, but you have rice, you have sambar, you have rasam, you have, poriyal is what? Vegetables. You have appadam, pappadam, papad. So you need to give a full prediction. Only if you do this, no, that is not done. But this is a wonderful way to start your prediction because, you have this person hooked. How did this person know this? How did this person find out this? So from there, you start. That is one way. Or as you are predicting, one point like this, 2 points here, 2 points there, 2 points there. So immediately, they would be listening to you like they're watching a TV serial, like they're watching a cricket match, right? Because see, a client or a person can come to you wanting to pay 100 rupees. They will want to have a prediction for 5 minutes. There are those type of clients. But in astrology, there is no fixed rate. And let me tell you, people are ready to give you whatever. In fact, there is no string attached because people just want answers. In fact, people who are seeking, I can talk about things from my point of view. Nobody is shying away from giving you money, sir. Nobody is shying away. They're ready to give you money, ready to give you as much as, more than you can imagine. But they just want answers. They just want the right person, genuine person. It's as simple as that. So there are people who are ready to wait and listen to you for 1 hour, 2 hours. Students here who are listening, they not the students who are here today, but there are students who are waiting for almost 2 months for a consultation now. So they are waiting. They are readily waiting because they know what you're going to do. So all these things are beautiful ways to actually go about and present your prediction in a phenomenal way. And I want all of you to start making use of this, right? Next is, there would be issues pertaining to the tooth. Otherwise, immediately when you see a person who's always suddenly fiddling his teeth with his toothpick, it is the impact of a Gochara Rahu. Or even if tooth is not having a problem, they would go to the dentist. They would take a scan there also. They would have a check there also, right? Again, there would be burns. There would be cuts. Simple things. While you're shaving, one small cut. While you're cutting vegetables, one small cut, right? Suddenly you would grow a mustache. Or somebody who's having a mustache, they will shave the mustache. So if you had a mustache and if you shaved the mustache, check the time. Mars would be associated with Rahu. There would be a problem associated with the police. You may have to go to the police station, right? If Mars is weak, it is a you would be associated with police in a good way, which means what? If you want to join the police service, good. If Mars is weak, there would be a problem associated with the police. Traffic rules, violation, you will have to pay a fine. What is the solution for that? Before having a problem with the police, meet the police in some form or the other. Do you have a friend or a relative who's a police officer, policeman, police constable? Just for a few days till this transit, talk to them. Meet them, call them on phone, talk to them. You can also tell them this. No. Gochara Rahu is going over my Jananagala Mars. Daily 10 minutes. Weekly once, 10 minutes we will talk. If you don't have a police friend, don't have, a friend who's a police officer, what you can do is you can go to the police station. Don't go inside the police station. Near the police station, there would be a tea shop, there would be a bakery, there would be some place. Go sit there for some time. Have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee. Do this. Do this once a while and that problem won't come to you. Simple, sir, simple, ma'am. You need to connect the Karakas with the other Karaka. It's as simple as that, right? So, let's say there is a boy who's coming, who's 20 years, 23 years. He's athletic, right? Automatically, is there a question associated with what? Joining police, joining military, joining army? Answer would be a yes, right? Mars indicates your vehicle. Mars also indicates key. So frequently they would lose their house key. They would lose their house key and they would lose their vehicle's key. There would be electricity problem in the house. There would be a change of the electricity box, the meter box in the house. The reading of the meter box won't be correct. They would pay their electricity bill late with fine. There would be an attachment towards Anjaneya, Hanuman, and Murugan or Skandan, which is good. There is a dog bite. They would be bitten by a dog. So everybody who has a Mars here, will they get a dog bite? No. Dog will come chasing after them. Dog will come chasing after them. And it would always be a pack of dogs. Why? Because Rahu indicates a pack, right? So recently, when you predict only, when you do this only, especially when you learn the bhavas also, when you connect, recently, since this is going to be out, there's a client, while I was predicting, sir, there is a fear of dog bite, right? So of all the things, he was just hooked with that. And I told him, sir, this dog will come chasing after you, not in the night, it will come in the early morning. Yes, sir. So when you make predictions like that, you can easily cover them. They won't leave you for a lifetime, right? So that is how it is. Again, the electricity, the transformer, or the electricity pole or the wire where the electricity line flows, there would be a change. Which means if it is not in your area, it will come near your area, near your house. If it is in your house, they will change it from one place to another place, right? Again, a dog will be lost if you are having a dog, if you are having a pet dog. Not a pet dog. See, pet dog is different, but a dog which you have for the purpose of security, right? Mars is security, is always about Mars. So a dog will get lost in your house, right? A person who does not have a dog, suddenly they would have a fascination. You know what? Why don't we buy a dog? If you don't buy a dog, your neighbor will buy a dog. Check that. It will be there. Right? Again, there would be a change in the blood count. Suddenly hemoglobin less, hemoglobin more. They will go for a blood test. Ask them, did you recently go for a blood test? They will donate blood. They would grow drumstick in the house, right? Drumstick tree in the house. Next is electrical work in the house will happen. This is the time when, your mixie gets spoiled, your grinder gets spoiled. You will change your stove. You will change the burner of the stove. Ask them all these questions one by one. Don't think it's a joke. One by one, they would say yes. Simple thing, sir. Simple thing, ma'am. Did you buy a gas lighter? Ask them this. Did you change your gas lighter? The answer would be yes. There will be constipation. They will have constipation. They would change the toilet, or they would build a toilet, or, they would start, doing this thing and that thing with the toilet inside. This, we will keep it here. That, we will keep it here. Soap box, we will keep it this side. That tray, we will keep it that side. All of this will happen. Why? Because Mars, Kala Purushas, Ashtama Bhava. Right? Mars indicates structure. Right? It indicates structure. So suddenly, they would want to keep their body fit. They would enroll into a gym. They would go for running, walking, exercise. Something, my body should be in proper structure. Some person will be going to the gym for years together. During this time, he will stop going to the gym, which means, again, always use this rule of, the dosa turner. If he's like this, this will happen. So the only word you need to do here is there a change in something pertaining to an exercise? Then he will be going to say, yes, sir, I was exercising for, that means stop him there, stop her there. You've stopped exercising, correct? Yes. Or let's say you find a person, who's coming, who's a little bit on the plumpier side. He's coming to you. Immediately you see this combination. Your mind, you want to exercise and you want to get your body fit. Am I correct? Yes. Right. So they would be concerned about what? About the structure of the body. And they would want to take care of it. And they would want to immediately do something about it. There is an accident. There is a litigation. And there would be some thing associated with that which would be going around during this time. If it is a woman's horoscope, especially even if they are young girls, they would want to start learning on how to drive a car. Right? Girls go for this driving classes, driving lessons. It can apply to males also, by the way, but girls also. If you see, again, I'm telling you all of this so that based on the age that somebody comes, you can immediately say. So based on this age, are you going for driving classes, ma? Yes. Yes, ma'am, I'm going. Daughter's horoscope. Is she going for driving classes? Yes, we are planning to send her for driving classes. Is she learning driving? Yes, she's learning driving. Right? Those who are always angry, suddenly they will cool down during this time. Those who never get angry, why? Because Mars indicates anger. Those who never get angry, they will suddenly get angry during this time. Right? There would be a change in the spices that you add to the food, right? So somebody, less spicy food, add little more spice. Change the masala. Put this masala, put that masala. Somebody who's having no spice, more spice. Somebody who's having more spice, less spice. Less spice, more spice. So there would be a change in the spices, right? Why? Because Mars indicates something to do with, something to do with spices in general, which is spicy in nature, right? Next. Whatever it is, whenever a Rahu transits Jananagala Mars, vehicles is something that somebody needs to be careful about, which means even if you are traveling on one side of the road, somewhere a vehicle will come towards you. So something to do with rash driving should be strictly avoided during that time, right? That would only lead you into problems, right? Mars also indicates your bloodline. So suddenly there would be a change in the way you actually go about, or the way your blood relatives mingle with you, behave with you. Right? There would be a sudden change. People who are suddenly talking nicely to you, suddenly they won't talk. People who are not talking to you, suddenly they would come and knock at your door. Right? Again, for younger sibling, Mars also indicates who your wife's younger sibling, right? They would have problems also, right? Small accidents will be there. Right? Most importantly, Mars indicates never-ending pursuit of something. Never give up spirit. So there would be some form of an act where, I will not give up in this. That will be there. You will buy weapons. What kind of weapons do we buy? Maximum we will buy knife, right? Or if we have the knife in the kitchen, what would we do? He would sharpen that knife, right? During this time, there would be an interest to learn drawing. What is the connection between drawing and Mars? See, when you start drawing, especially painting, let's say you're painting a face, what would they teach you? They would teach you to construct a structure first. You don't take a pen and pencil and immediately paint. No, they would first construct a structure. Then they would go about and draw. Then they would go about and sketch, right? So learning drawing. Surgery, litigation, buying land, selling land, all of this is unavoidable when what a Gochara Rahu is connected with. I'm always using the verse connected. Why? Because this is the way I'm teaching you, right? So don't confuse it with other things. That is there, right? Even if a teeth or, whatever associated with the teeth is normal for years, there would be a slight problem associated with it. For a girl's horoscope, there would be a change in the method they follow in order to cook, right? Let's say you're buying masala. You're buying that packet masala. Suddenly you would say, why we should buy masala? We will grind our own masala. And they will buy all the produce and they will grind it in the house. Let's say for a long time in the house, they have been grinding masala. They don't buy the packet masala, right? Like Shakti masala and all that. Suddenly, what they would do? They would start buying packet masalas, right? So this is the way you actually go about and look at the transit of Rahu over natal Mars and predict beautifully. So if a 6-year-old child is coming and you see this combination, what would you say? There is a birth of a child. Next, since Mars is the Ashtamadibadi, Kalapurusha is Ashtamadibadi, there is a theft. You should be careful. There is a possibility of a dog bite, or there will always be a anxiety associated with a dog bite. This can be added when we get into the bhavas. Electrical items, grinder, mixie, gas stove, all of this, buying lighter, as I told you, you can use this beautifully, it works out, right? Most importantly in the house, little changes will be there. Worshipping Muruga, Skanda during this time, that is wonderful. So what we're doing here is, and most importantly, Mars also indicates heat, by the way. So again, heat-related ailments will be there, right? So here, there is a Dasha Bhukti which tells you something, but is there something beyond the Dasha Bhukti that I can tell, which can, literally, baffle a person? Yes, it is the Gochara Rahu. It is the Gochara Rahu. Mars, which indicates security, which means, any animal that uses its teeth, as a defense. You can call it a Mars, you can call it, you can call it a dog, you can call it a tiger. All of this comes under a complete influence of Mars. Looking at the remedies here, Shashti worship. This is a wonderful solution, which means what? Every Shashti Tithi listening to or reciting the Kanda Shashti Kavasam or connecting with Muruga in some form or the other. Especially during this time, people who religiously observe the Kanda Shashti Vradam, they would stop observing it. Why? Because this is the way it works. So they should continue it. People who have no connection with Kanda Shashti Vradam or they are not associated with it, they don't want to follow it, they've forget about Kanda Shashti Vradam, they have not gone to the temple, they would start doing it, right? Again, I've already told you a simple remedy, especially when it comes to police and litigation and all of that, that you can actually go about and use it, right? So this is one important way to actually go about and look at it, right? Again, if somebody is into the police service, they can, or if they are something to do with uniform service, suddenly they would feel like, putting the VRS. So if Mars is strong, it is police. Mars is weak, it is a thief. It's as simple as that, right? Most importantly, when Mars is associated with Gochara Rahu, psychic abilities, a person would easily develop a psychic ability. And most importantly, that desire to, find out something which is mysterious. Why? Because the 8th bhava of the Kalapurusha indicates mysteries, hidden mysteries. This is a mysterious subject. I want to find something about it. So getting into the end of something is something that they would do during this point in time, right? Next is, if somebody wants to run a matha or get into a position in a matha, right? Like, for example, there is a matha and I want to become the head of the matha and my guru is ready to make me the head of the matha. This is the time when this can ideally happen. Most importantly, lighting a deepam regularly, lamp regularly, and worshipping is good. Whenever a Mars is associated with Rahu, see, Mars is considered as a hormonal planet. It has a lot of hormones. So there would be a lot of desire to grow, to become big, to actually go about and prove that, I want to be somebody. Again, for people, those who have a very fat body, they would want to become thin. For people who have a thin body, they would want to kind of become fat. I want to eat this powder, that powder, and become fat, right? Next is, near their house or in their family, there would be a death, right? Again, near their house, somebody would buy a dog, and a dog would also give birth to a puppy. You can use all of this, each and every one of this, right? Again, during this time, there would be a Graha Pravesha, because remember, Mars is a Mangala Karaka, but he is also the Ashtamadhipati. He is also considered as a Pavi to a certain extent, right? Why? Because Mars indicates force. So you need to combine both of this. There would be a Graha Pravesha in the family. There would be a wedding in the family. And there would be a girl who has hit puberty also in the family. This will be there, right? In this family, it will happen, right? So when we are talking about this here, now we also need to look at multiple combinations. So let's get into the multiple combinations, because here we spoke about Mars. We spoke about Moon. We also spoke about what? We also spoke about Sun. But what if there are multiple combinations? Let's study this here. So we have a Rahu. Let's say Sun is here. Mars is here, right? So now let's tick mark here, tick mark here, tick mark here. So now Rahu is going to influence what? He's going to influence both Sun and he is going to influence Mars. Which means what? He will get into a higher position. But both these grahas indicate tension. Both these grahas indicate tension, which means what? He will get into a position, but at the same time, there would be a tension. Owing to whom? Owing to his higher officials. Again, depending on the age, you can say there would be a possibility to give VRS and retire if he is in government services. There is a surgery for the father. There is a medication for the father. There would be a question associated with the ancestral property. Why? Sun, ancestry, Mars, property. And there would be a problem also associated with that property. Why? Because Mars is considered as what? The Ashtamadhipati of the Kalapurusha, right? If they are young couples who come to you, now what you can tell them? There is a possibility of a birth, or there is a possible birth of a male progeny, right? Again, you would go to a temple of which god? Murugan. Where would this Murugan be? He would be in a hill. Why? Because Sun indicates the hill, Mars indicates Murugan. As you tell people like this is like the start. People would be astonished. I didn't even open my mouth, sir. Let me tell you what my problem is. You've already told the problem. You've already told the solution. By the time you finish this itself, you have your consultation fee. Remember, the goal here is to make astrology an ethical, a viable, most importantly, a respected noble profession, right? So this is the way you should ideally start predicting, and you should immediately start doing now. You may ask this question, sir, I'm a little less confident. I'm shy. What if somebody says no? Don't worry. See, you need to understand one thing. Whatever I'm telling you are rules. You may fail, rules don't fail. You keep this in mind. Which means if something that I've told has not happened and it does not work for you, don't give up. Sit there. What is it that is not making this rule work? Rules are correct, but there should be something wrong. So every time something goes wrong, it's an opportunity for growth. It is an opportunity for contemplation, right? So don't think that, what other person would think. You should just go predict. Don't be there to satisfy people. We are not here to satisfy people. Your only love affair and romance, which should be with the Navagrahas. Your respect should be with the Navagrahas, right? You should love the subject. The moment you start loving the subject, the Grahas would literally sit in your shoulder and they would tell you, tell this, tell that. No, look at him. He's looking like this. Tell him this, tell him that. Like this, you would be able to beautifully predict, sir, ma'am, right? So here, in this case itself, if he's having a brother, then there would be a rise in position of the brother. Again, if he's having a brother and the brother's horoscope is also there, then there is a birth of a child for the brother, right? Again, if it's a small child who's coming to you, then father will have what? Eye problem. Father will have eye problem or pressure in his eyes. Why? Because Mars also indicates pressure. Let's look into another example. Same, right? Let's say we have Mars here, Moon here, right? So immediately what you should say, there is a problem associated with land. Or you would be cheated. Because remember I told you, whenever Rahu is associated with Chandra, this is the time to get duped. This is the time to get cheated, right? Or your brother, there is a cheating associated with your brother. Either your brother has been cheated or, something associated with the brother, there is a disappointment, right? Don't use the word cheating. That is blunt. Use the word disappointment, right? Again, if somebody wants to sell a land, why? Because moon indicates letting go of something. Why? Because water flows. It is not steady in one place. So this is the right time to sell a property. Since Mars is in its own sign, right? Good. That means what? You will get some good money pertaining to this land. Again, you would want to register this property, or you would want to sell this property would be on your mother's name. Suddenly your mother and your younger brother would become close. Why? Because Mars indicates sibling, Moon indicates the mother. Mother will have health issue, mother will have surgery. That's it, 100 marks. Whatever you ask, you don't have to ask, sir, they will give. You will be stunned what they're giving you, right? If you start predicting like this, right? Now, since Mars is in its own sign, that means if there is a surgery, what? Mother will be all right. If there is a sale of property, what? It will go for a good rate. Again, even if the younger sibling is traveling somewhere, don't start with cheating. Start with traveling. Traveling somewhere, it will lead to some form of a success, good success, right? This is the way you ideally predict, right? Again, if the mother has a property or the mother has a property, she will write this property on your name, right? This is also another way. Like this, you can beautifully predict when there are multiple grahas. Because when you have multiple grahas, there are ample scopes that you get. Again, sun, moon. What is the first thing that should come to your mind? Both are grahas which indicate light. So let's say a 50-year-old man is coming to you, right? 50-year-old, 55-year-old man is coming to you. What would you say? So you have problems pertaining to your eyesight. Yes, I have problems pertaining to my eyesight. Go to some, go to some good doctor and go for some form of a medication, and you will be able to manage. How you will be able to manage? Sun is exalted, which means what? Problem with the left eye will be there. Problem with the right eye will get solved to a certain extent, right? Again, sun indicates the heart. Automatically something to do with, something to do with heart ailments or concerns about the heart will be there, right? Again, sun also indicates temples. Sun also indicates your kula, community. Moon indicates travel. So there would be a travel associated with a punya sthala. Again, those who have a Mars Rahu combination naturally in their horoscope, they would always be having this doubt, did somebody do some black magic to me? Why? Because especially when, see, one is if you have this combination, they will have this feeling naturally in the horoscope. And especially when Rahu is transiting over natal Mars. See, when does a person think that, there is something to do with a black magic or something like that in the family? People have a good time and a bad time. But continuously, if you're not having a good time, what will happen? You would immediately think, that somebody has done something. But now you should be able to gauge that. You should be able to judge that. Let us say a mother is coming to you showing the horoscope of the sun. What is the sun's age? Sun's age is, say, around some 29 years, 30 years, and they're bringing the sun also. You're seeing the sun also. And let's say the sun is jobless. He's not going for a job. Right? He's not earning. He's just sitting in the house. And the mother is telling, every mother will tell like that. I don't know, there is some black magic that somebody has done in the family because of which my son is not getting married. Will you take this? No. So you should always understand where to apply it or not, right? So most of the times, when there is something to do with a Mars Rahu associated, again, it is also associated with, some form of a feeling that, what, there is something that somebody has done to me. And the solution to that, I've already given you. That is what? Tamarind flowers. That is something that I've told you. I've given you a detail on that in the Parihara session. You can definitely go about and use it, right? See here, you need to understand one important thing, respected students, ma'am, sirs, all of you. It's not about learning, it's about applying. So whatever you're getting, immediately you need to start applying. Immediately start giving updates. And that is how you grow, right? So with this, we have come to the end of the session. Now, if you do have any question, any of you, all of you can ask me any questions if you want to. Yes, no, any questions? Let me drink some water. Any questions? Anybody, any questions? Okay. First of all, I thank you all for your precious, valuable time spent. So please make sure that you take notes of this and start applying it. Wishing you all a great, great week ahead. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.